The numbers are 6.
Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. And good evening, everyone. I'm Bill Anderson. We are here looking outside on what is a beautiful day. And that shot that you're seeing right now is a combination of the things that are going well this evening. It's beautiful outside. 83 degrees. We set a record today, getting up to 83. So you're seeing the skyline, the water, a little just glamour shot, as we would like to call it. So that's on half of the screen. The other half of the screen is the link. Also outside, everything's still going well, but just a few minutes ago, it was announced, maybe 20 minutes ago now, that the Eagles have made their first addition to the team after losing multiple players. A lot of concerns that people had. They made their first addition to the team by signing former Pro Bowl cornerback Riq Woolen. Now, Riq Woolen played for the champions last year, the Seattle Seahawks. He is very clearly an upgrade as the number 2 cornerback on the Eagles. So he will be an absolute addition to the team. We've got a lot of things that we're going to jump into throughout the show today. So let's come on back in here. Good afternoon, good evening. I do so many shows now, guys. It's afternoon, evening, it runs together. But good evening. This is Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. I'm Bill Anderson, and we've got a bunch that we're going to get to. So there are hearings that were taking place about bullying in the schools, specifically in Radnor. We're going to check in on that. We've got updates on how this ongoing conflict with Iran, the United States strikes, are impacting oil prices, gas prices. We're seeing things kind of move up and down. So we've got a reporter who's going to break that down for us. Of course, a little bit of weather because we set a record today. It's expected to be very nice again tomorrow. There also is a really cool conference that's coming to town. It's called Diversitech, and it breaks down all of these opportunities for minorities and women and other individuals who are looking to get into the fields of technology, but doors that have traditionally been a little bit closed to underrepresented groups. There's a conference coming in. I got a chance to sit down with one of the organizers of that conference. We've got that for you. The White House press briefing, I feel like we can record this and put it on loop, right? The White House press briefing got a little spicy, a little controversial, so we will have that for you. Yeah, there's Caroline Leavitt, and when she is doing her thing, it tends to get a little bit interesting. It is a soundbite mill, right? So you take those things, they tend to go viral, but she answered a lot of questions about a lot of different things, took a lot of questions and comments from the media, so we will have that for you. And it goes on and on and on. There are issues with people who are trying to take flights and get to where they need to go because, oh, by the way, as Senate, I believe, is in recess right now, they still don't have a secured DHS budget. And so, three, four, mic check. All right, so let's try this one. So TSA workers in a lot of different places are dealing with challenges, and some of those things are going viral. You're seeing videos on social media, and maybe we will pull some of that up and show it to you. So you're seeing that and long lines and what have you. So suffice it to say, there is an awful lot going on. And I just broke down the stuff that we're going to try to get to you in this first hour as we get things started. So that's where we are. Oh, and one other update real quickly. You may have seen it on the Fantastic Sports Show. They were talking about sports and sports updates, obviously. There's another update on Tyrese Maxey. Unfortunately, not a great update on him. He does not have a broken finger, but he does have some pretty significant damage that they say is going to be a multiple week situation where he's going to be missing games. So there we are. Let's get to it. Are we ready to just jump into it, guys? Going to jump right into it. Unfortunately, I'm going to tell the control room real quickly. I'm making sure I'm going to be able to hear Shawnette because I'm hearing a lot of different things in my ear. So let's see if this works. Our Shawnette Wilson was out covering a hearing that was going on in the Radnor School District about bullying, cyberbullying. Shawnette, we actually thought it was going to be going on for much longer, but they wrapped up.
Yeah, they have several things to tackle tonight, Bill, but they did go like maybe 20 minutes overtime. So they did a slow walkthrough, longer than what they thought that they would today. So this is an issue that I think a lot of schools are dealing with right now. The Radnor School District, however, found themselves hit hard by this last December, and we've been covering this a few times since it happened. So just a quick recap. You remember last December, there was an incident with a student who police say is now charged with harassment for creating this AI-generated sexual images of students, fellow students at the high school. Parents say it's a group of girls. So we do know again that kid has been, charged with harassment. I covered one of the policy meetings last month. It was early February, and parents showed up, packed the place, just expressing concerns to, school board officials that they were upset with the way that they were notified about this, how it was handled. They said that they found out via an email the following month after it happened. They felt like, the district didn't take this seriously, and they expressed that they wanted some education on AI, artificial intelligence, and also some policy changes. So tonight, members of the policy committee came back with some of their revisions to policies that already exist in the district involving cyberbullying and bullying. I really can tell you that tonight was mostly going over verbiage, and they were bouncing, these edits back and forth off each other. Tonight's meeting was not anywhere near attended like the last. It was a 5 o'clock meeting though, so, understandably maybe some people were working or, getting their kids, from school, that sort of thing. But there was somebody who sent in recorded testimony, and there were two parents who actually spoke. I think the sticking point here is that one of the parents, talked specifically about, concern that the district may not have any, control over incidents that originate outside the school but affect kids who are inside the school, which was the case with that incident in December. Apparently, these sexually explicit AI materials were created off the school property, outside of school, but again affected a group of girls at the school. So that parent spoke. Let's listen to what she had to say.
My concern is not only about what already happened to this set of girls at Radnor High School, but what will happen next if we accept the idea that there is no nexus in situations like this. Because the next student who becomes a victim should not have to hear that the school cannot act simply because the file was created somewhere else. The technology may be new, but the responsibility to protect students' ability to learn in a safe environment is not.
Edits that the policy committee made will now, and they involve like enhancing again, kind of what was already on the books to improve it to include artificial intelligence behavior. That will now go to the full school board to be considered. And that board, the full board, will meet at the end of the month. And then I guess, parents and residents will get to hear what the full board thinks. Tonight, they seem to think that this whole procedure bill could maybe take about 2 months for anything final. So I'm sure once the full board comes back with their thoughts, parents will get to weigh in again. But I remember at the last meeting and then also today, what we kept hearing is that this is really new. I mean, AI isn't new, but there's so many things that, students have access to right now. And a lot of people, don't have the education to know, what are kids accessing? Because there's so many devices. So like in the Radnor School District now, apparently, they no longer have cell phones, right, in the classroom. But one of the board members pointed out how, you have the watches, you have, the meta glasses that can record, you have all these different versions of iPads. And so there are lots of ways and access that kids can have to different things, and it is really new. Unfortunately, they had a horrible situation happen here in which they are learning from and trying to move forward to figure out how to prevent it, through education and awareness, but also how to handle it. And, again, to hear that perhaps, the school has little to no opportunities to intervene or, control situations like this that originate off school property, I would say it's concerning. And a lot of parents, feel that very same way, which is what you heard the one parent say in that interview we just played for you, Bill. So
Yeah,
end of the month, we'll hear back from the full board.
No, I was listening to you, but it's concerning. It's also surprising because you would think that something like that's essentially generating adult, content or what have you. It's arguably illegal, and the school is saying that they're not sure that they have the ability to hold students accountable.
And I don't know if it's so much as hold them accountable, but it's the way that parents were criticizing like the notification process and how, if it's a criminal action, the way it goes through police first, before they can kind of get in and say anything to parents, because that was one of the things that parents were saying, like, we got an email the following month after this happened. This is what the parents were saying at the last meeting, but you all were full aware that there was some sort of investigation going, you maybe knew who was involved in this. So I think when they say that there's not much they can do, they are likely referring to the process of, police being involved initially before they can then say anything about it.
Yeah, I think it's challenging. Again, with AI and all of this, I think that society is learning day to day the best way to handle it. It's an interesting point. As you know, Shawnette, along with being on Fox Local, we also stream on the Fox 29 TikTok page and what have you. So the message boards are open. And one of the people commented, if a kid says something nasty, offensive about a teacher, principal, something along those lines, but did it outside of school hours, would they hold them accountable for that? And how different is it?
Yeah, so I don't know, when you are distributing like sexual materials may be different than just saying, my teacher stinks. I think they're dumb. They don't look right. I think that may be, that's super different than, this situation specifically where you can't create sexual images. And these are, minors that we're talking about who are the victims of this. So I think that's a little different, you know what I mean? But I get the point. It's a whole lot different, but I get the point that they're making. What really I think stuck to me too is, when the parent said, we can talk back and forth all day basically about this originated off school, but these kids who are victims in any situation like this should not then have to come to school and, people are walking around, they're whispering, this, other kids have seen it. Has nothing to do with the fact that it was created outside of school. Everybody knows about it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And so then that's disruptive to the learning environment for the, the students who were victimized by this. But it is all new. I will say it is a lot, right, to be just on top of everything technology-wise. I do understand what the district is saying. I'm not sure if we lost you or not. Are we lost, Marty?
No.
Yes, no.
All right, let's fade it out.
We're back. Bill, do you have me still?
I do. I can hear you if you can hear us. All right, so she was having problem hearing us, guys. So we will see what we can work out. They said she can hear me there? Okay, so she can hear us there. And I think, Shawnette, the point that they were trying to make in the message board was just the ability to hold them accountable. Like, very clearly it's different. But I agree with you, and I think everyone agrees with you that there has to be something that can be done, and something that can be done, relatively quickly to address this going forward. But we shall see. All right, so I think that we're going to leave it there because I think we're having some problems with the connection with Shawnette. But thank you, Shawnette Wilson, and we will check in with you a little bit later on. Shawnette is working on this story, getting more information, talking to more people about it, and we will continue forward with that. But there was a pretty extensive hearing that took place out at the Radnor School District, and as Shawnette explained, if people were not familiar with it, there was explicit content, adult content that was created apparently, allegedly, by some of the students about some other students, and it was essentially adult content using a student's face that was created by AI. And now they're trying to figure out what the consequences should be, the repercussions should be, and what is the bullying and cyberbullying policy. I believe we're going to take our first break, guys. So stay with us. This is Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. There's a lot going on. You can chime in on our streaming platforms, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course on Fox Local. We are here for you, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. .718 Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. Again, a reminder, as we are every evening, we are not only on Fox Local, the Fox Local app, but we're on all streaming platforms, our YouTube page, our Facebook page, our TikTok page, and we have people who are actually in the room, and you saw earlier, we've got it open here, reading your questions and comments. So if you have things that you would like to address to us, jump on in the room there at Fox 29 Philly, TikTok page, YouTube page, Facebook page. Guys, next up, obviously we have continued to follow what's going on with the United States and Iran conflict, the strikes, the impact that it is having, and our Amalia Roy has been looking into that, the impact that it's having on oil and gas and prices and the economy. Amalia, good evening.
Good evening, Bill. The good news is that the price of oil is going down. Yesterday, it peaked at just under $120 a barrel. It ended the day at under 90, and it continues to go down. Now, this is after President Trump suggested that the conflict could be ending soon. But all of this is still more expensive than the around $70 a barrel the price was at before the U.S. and Israel struck Iran. Today, the national average for regular gas is at $3.54 a gallon compared to $3.48 yesterday, $3.11 a week ago, and $2.92 1 month ago. And even though prices have been falling ever since President Trump's comments, gas prices won't be coming down as quickly.
$10 increase in the price per barrel of oil. The price for gasoline that you pay will increase by about 24 cents. So this transmits directly right into your pocketbook. Now, the mind-bending volatility that we've observed over the past couple of days has to do with the realization that the duration of the war was likely going to go on for more than 4 or 5 days.
A major factor in surging oil prices is that shipping traffic in the Strait of Hormuz has all but stopped. About 1/5 of all of the world's oil passes through this narrow body of water. That's about 15 to 20 million barrels of oil a day. But the potential for attacks from Iran has stopped most of the shipments in the Gulf. Back in the U.S., no one's feeling the pain at the pump more than drivers here in California, where the average cost for a gallon of regular is nearly $5.30, just $4.50 last month.
In recent memory, at its best, it's like $20 less.
It takes me a bit to refill my tank, my vehicle. It's over $100 a week. Why is that? I mean, we don't need this war.
Today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt repeated President Trump's threat against Iran if they attack any tankers in the Gulf, saying that they will hit Iran even harder. She also said that they're offering risk insurance for tankers in the area, as well as looking at different military options to make sure that shipments can keep going on. In Los Angeles, Amalia Roy, Fox 29 News.
Thank you very much, Amalia. We appreciate it, and we will check in with you a little bit later on as we continue to get more information. And we will have, Amalia just referenced that conversation from the White House press briefing with Caroline Leavitt, press secretary, the things that she was talking about, the impact that the conflict with Iran continues to have. We will have some of that for you a little bit later on, so stay with us. We also have some of the comments made by the Secretary of War giving updates on where we stand. So all of that's been happening throughout the day. We will bring it to you. But first, we want to check in on surprisingly beautiful weather. We actually set a record here in Philadelphia. And our Scott Williams will break it down for us. Scott, you said we just kind of skipped a couple months and went right to summer.
I mean, Bill, the average high temperature this time of year should be 51 degrees. Yeah, we were not in the 60s. We weren't even in the 70s. It made it to 83 degrees. That's more typical of June 13th, June 14th. So we went past spring and right to summer. Look at some of these high temperatures across the area today. You can see we had company with regards to record tying or record breaking. Wilmington 83 degrees, that broke a record. Reading 83, that broke the record from 2016. So 10 years ago, we were in the 80s in March like this, but it was 80 in Atlantic City, Trenton 80 degrees, tying a record in Allentown of 80 degrees. Numbers still at this hour. I mean, it's 7:22. We're talking about 76 right now in Philadelphia, 77 still Doylestown. So really the perfect evening after dinner to walk the dog. Maybe get in the yard with the kids. We're still talking about nice conditions. We'll kind of zoom in and show you some of the numbers. Phoenixville, 76 degrees. Media Delco checking in at 74. It's 74 in Glassboro. Pennsville, 75. Middletown, Delaware, kind of the cool spot there on this particular map at 70 degrees. Now, as far as the temperatures for tomorrow, we'll start in the 50s, climb into the 70s, chasing records again for tomorrow. But tomorrow afternoon into the evening, we're watching some thunderstorms kind of pop out ahead of a cold front that really won't arrive until Thursday, dropping the temperatures. But some of those storms could turn strong to severe tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. So once again, we're watching the rainfall chances kind of ramping up tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, 80% chance, still about 70% chance on Thursday, the first part of the day, as that cold front kind of sweeps through from west to east, dropping those temperatures, a dramatic change from Thursday morning to Thursday night. And then by Friday morning, most locations are at or below freezing. So waking up to cold conditions once again. Here is the bottom line as far as that front. It's still far off to the west, producing severe weather through Illinois into Indiana, as well as into parts of Texas. Right now, multiple severe thunderstorm warnings as well as tornado warnings are ongoing. We'll kind of zoom in here. This is south of Chicago, and take a look at this. We have a tornado warning in effect, and you can really kind of see on radar that hook, that signature that we look at. This is around Kankakee, just outside of the Chicago area, and you can see this is looking like it's going to be crossing Interstate 57. Look at that good hook echo on this particular radar signature. So watching for severe weather. We don't really anticipate a high risk for tornadoes for us tomorrow. It's low but not no. Our main threats tomorrow will be damaging wind as well as some hail. But take a look at this. I mean, you can clearly see the hook on this as it's moving toward Kankakee. So if you're watching us on live stream and you live in Kankakee, you'll want to seek shelter immediately because this is closing in and this is going to be moving through that area, also crossing Interstate 57. So just a very volatile situation on that particular side of the front. And then as we move toward the Lone Star State, we've been watching severe weather on the southern part of this front. Multiple severe thunderstorms ongoing from Abilene down to San Angelo. And this is a part of the same system that will be bringing us the potential for some damaging wind and hail in particular tomorrow afternoon into the evening time frame. I think the best time will be right around this time tomorrow. Philadelphia points to the south and west, watching kind of that slight risk for severe thunderstorms. The ingredients are going to be there. We have the humidity that's returning. We have a little, volatility in the atmosphere, of course. Some daytime heating. We're talking temperatures that will be once again in the 70s. And yeah, that's the recipe to create some thunderstorms developing tomorrow afternoon into tomorrow evening. And you can clearly see we'll be watching some scattered activity. This is all out ahead of that cold front, but that cold front itself, that's not going to be moving in until Thursday. Thursday morning, we'll have temperatures in the 60s and then numbers will be falling into the 30s and the 40s. There may even be a little bit of wet snow that could mix in on the tail end of this front as it kind of blows through. That just really shows you how dynamic and how powerful that temperature drop is going to be. Some rain showers giving way to maybe a little bit of snow, but that's not going to be a big issue. It's not even going to accumulate. But we're talking temperatures. Look at this. 7 o'clock Thursday, 60 degrees, falling into the 40s. And then by this time Thursday, we'll be falling into the upper 30s, especially some of the colder suburbs. But take a look at the 7-day forecast because temperatures going from 76 tomorrow, the record, of course, it's 74 degrees. And then those temperatures crash Thursday. By Friday morning, 29 degrees, our favorite number here at Fox 29. 50-degree temperatures for Friday. Saturday, more sunshine than Sunday, cloudy skies, and then we're looking at more rainfall moving in Monday with another cold front. But take a look at the temperatures. We go again from 60 to 29 degrees. Tuesday's high temperature, 37 degrees, and then next Wednesday, upper 30. So this is kind of a spring tease, a fake out, whatever you want to call it, fake spring. Yeah, because a reality check is coming later in the week.
If I can live it, it's real. So it's a real spring for just a minute. I love every second of it. I'll take the days we can get. Yeah. We'll deal with the other stuff later. Yeah. Thank you, Scott. We'll check in with you in just a little bit. Scott Williams breaking it down for us. Set a new record today, 83 degrees. Guys, before we go to break, we have our social media question of the day. We'll tell you the story a little bit later, but there is a Girl Scout troop out there that says if you don't step up and buy more Girl Scout cookies, they may have to actually shut down because people are not supporting them the way that they used to. They also mentioned that cookies are now $6 and $7 a box, and people are saying that they are getting smaller packaging. So our question on the Fox 29 page, also on my Bill A, Fox 29, Instagram, TikTok, and what have you, is will you step up and support the Girl Scouts to keep the troop going? Or are you one of those people who is like, look, I've spent as much money as I plan to? I think I got a whole case of Girl Scout cookies at home right now. Give us your answer. You can comment and we'll get right back to you. It's Philadelphia Live on Fox Local on all streaming platforms. We'll be right back. I'm going to go vote real quick. Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. It's about 7:31, and you're taking a look at airports all across the country. The reason why it's representative of some of the challenges that we are facing now. We do not have a budget that is funding DHS and some of the TSA workers, and so in some places, I've been seeing things online that are going viral with unbelievably long lines. Our Sarah Allegre is actually experiencing them firsthand and has the update for us. Hey, Sarah.
Hey there, Bill. Well, you know me, we're traveling all the time for this job, and my kind of rule of thumb is I get to the airport, even with all the bags that I have, with all the equipment I have to carry, I get there an hour before my flight takes off, not before it boards, but before it takes off. So a lot of these people learning that they got here 3 to 4 hours before their flight took off to make sure that they're making it on time. That's such a crazy thought to me, but it's been so essential because these TSA lines have been stretching for hours upon end, things looking a whole lot better right now. But travelers here at Hobby Airport, you know, they're telling me they just don't want to take any chances.
I thought to myself, oh my gosh, like I don't think I've ever experienced that much like chaos in an airport. So it definitely did bring panic to me. So I was like, okay, we need to go. So you just gotta either decide to show up early and make sure you're on your flight, or have the risk of missing it if you don't get here early enough.
Yeah, a very different scene from this weekend. Look at this, Bill. On Sunday, security lines stretched into the passenger pickup area from upstairs to downstairs. Travelers telling us they waited nearly 4 hours. That's just crazy. I can't wrap my head around it. To get through security. Monday, waiting 2 hours. So down just a little bit. We're seeing progress today. TSA agents, they're working right now. It's a requirement. Even though the DHS, they've been without funding since mid-February. Dems and Republicans, they're locked in this standoff over immigration policy. And we're in the crossfire, essentially. A lot of travelers and TSA employees. Staffing's down. Airports are closing security lanes altogether, and more employees are calling out and taking some time off to work other jobs to compensate. So travelers just telling me today, yeah, they're more concerned about those workers without pay.
The fact that they aren't being paid, so for them to not come to work might be pretty acceptable or reasonable. So more concern for those people than for my own time.
Yeah, and so TSA pre-check lines, those are still good to go. There was some debate over that earlier, back in February. But if you are trying to travel international, it looks like global entry processing, that's going to remain closed during this time, which will definitely add some time to your next getaway. And just, Bill, the timing's so unfortunate when we're looking at spring break travel. And I know you say you're not close to the spring break age, but hey, everyone could use a break, Bill, all right? Maybe take one. It's okay.
I actually have a trip scheduled that is the same week as spring break. I'm just not going to be among the spring break partiers, but I am trying to get away.
Well, good, Bill. And it's okay. I mean, I don't necessarily want to be in that spring break party crowd either. That was a couple of years ago. But good. I'm glad you're taking that trip. Just to keep in mind what I just reported and maybe show up a couple of hours early, just in case, depending on how long this lasts.
So two things. I saw a viral post at New Orleans airport where the lines were so long that there were people who were back up into the parking lot area, went all the way around the terminal, back out through security and back into parking. So it's a mess. And also the kind of collective response from our control room is that you are cutting it really close, only getting there an hour early with equipment and everything else.
You guys, I like to live on the edge, okay? A little bit of excitement gets me going, some anxiety, and every time I make my flight, I really do. I'm very lucky in that regard, and I know one day I'm gonna be reporting to you a different story, and I'm gonna learn my lesson eventually. But you need to be there 1 hour in order to check your bags, and I do that with a rental car too, guys. I drop the rental car off. I have a very lined up schedule to make sure that I'm not waiting in the airport longer than I should be. No one needs to spend more time in those terminals. That's how I live my life. I mean, it's worked.
Okay, guys, do what she says, not what she does. Give yourself some additional time to go ahead and make it through the airport. Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Look, it's working for her. you know, and they travel all the time. They being reporters, Sarah's on a different story, different location all the time. So it's working for her. So I can't hate. That even seems a little tight for me, and I don't like being in airports for extended periods of time. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we will come back. Updates on a lot of the things that we were talking about happened this morning in the White House press briefing. We're going to take you there. It's Philadelphia Live on Fox Local and all streaming platforms. .39 as we take a look at the White House. This is Philadelphia Live on Fox Local and all streaming platforms. Those streaming platforms include some of the chat rooms that we have in the various Fox 29 social media platforms. Again, that's TikTok, that's Instagram, that is Facebook, and more. And we are in those rooms, so if you have comments, if you would like to interact, if you have questions you would like us to try to get answers to, we've got you covered. So a little bit earlier today, and we started off looking at the White House because there are obviously frequent White House press briefings, and with so many things going on right now, they can get a little spirited. Now, what we're going to play for you first was the update that they gave this morning. A little bit later on, we'll get into the Q&A, but this is what Karoline Leavitt, press secretary, had to say about where we stand on various things, including the ongoing conflict with Iran.
As President Trump shared with the American people last night, the United States military is making tremendous strides towards achieving our military objectives for Operation Epic Fury. 10 days in, this campaign has been a resounding success thus far, and America's warriors are winning this important fight at an even faster pace than we anticipated. More than 5,000 enemy targets have been struck so far. Iran's ballistic missile attacks are down more than 90%, and their drone attacks are down by approximately 85% since the start of Operation Epic Fury. The United States is also annihilating the Iranian regime's navy, and we have destroyed more than 50 Iranian naval vessels, including a major drone carrier ship. None of the regime's vessels are operating in major regional waterways, and the Iranian Navy has been assessed as combat ineffective. The trend is clear. U.S. combat capabilities are increasing and growing more lethal and dominant by the day, while the Iranian terrorist regime's ability to respond has rapidly declined. Now, the U.S. military is moving to dismantle Iran's missile production infrastructure. Our incredible B-2 bombers recently dropped dozens of 2,000-pound penetrator bombs on deeply buried missile sites. Last night, President Trump reiterated his commitment toward keeping oil flowing through the Strait of Hormuz so the United States and all of our allies can receive their energy needs. President Trump will not allow rogue Iranian terrorists to stop the freedom of navigation and the free flow of energy. Let me be clear. It is a good thing to wipe out terrorists who indiscriminately target civilians and attempt to hold the global economy hostage, and President Trump should be commended for doing so. As the president made unequivocally clear to the remaining elements of this terrorist regime in his statement yesterday, if they do anything to stop the flow of oil or goods within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the world's most powerful military 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. Moving forward, the stated objectives for Operation Epic Fury remain the same: destroy the terrorist regime's ballistic missiles, raise their Iranian missile industry to the ground, ensure their terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region, and ensure that Iran never obtains a nuclear weapon. President Trump remains confident these goals will be accomplished in swift fashion. As for the oil, President Trump fully expected the rogue Iranian regime to try and disrupt the global markets. That's why President Trump and his energy team have been planning for this long before the strike and have moved quickly to address these temporary disruptions. Thus far, the Trump administration has offered political risk insurance to tankers operating in the Gulf. The Treasury temporarily waived certain oil-related sanctions, and the Commander-in-Chief has offered the U.S. Navy to escort tankers when necessary. The president and his energy team are closely watching the markets, speaking with industry leaders, and the U.S. military is drawing up additional options following the president's directive to continue keeping the Strait of Hormuz open. I will not broadcast what those options look like, but just know the president is not afraid to use them. Rest assured to the American people, the recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, and this operation will result in lower gas prices in the long term. Once the national security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are fully achieved, Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly, potentially even lower than they were prior to the start of the operation. And we will live in a world where Iran can no longer threaten the United States or our allies with a nuclear bomb. On another matter here at home, President Trump is urging Congress to pass the Save America Act, one of the most critical pieces of legislation in our nation's history. The Save America Act is overwhelmingly popular with all Americans because each provision is rooted in common sense. The Save America Act has 5 simple requirements as requested by the President of the United States. Number 1, voters have to show ID to cast a ballot in an American election. Very simple. 90% of Americans, including more than 80% of Democrat voters, agree with this. Number 2, the Save America Act will require all voters to show proof of citizenship in order to register to vote in American elections. Again, this is popular and rooted in common sense. Only American citizens have the right to vote in American elections. But after Joe Biden and the Democrats allowed tens of millions of illegal aliens into our country, it's more important than ever to ensure that only American citizens are registering to vote on our nation's voter rolls, and Congress needs to pass this. Number 3, the Save America Act abolishes the incredibly unsecure practice of universal mail-in ballots, which throw the door wide open for fraud. Importantly, the Save America Act maintains exceptions for Americans to use mail-in ballots for illness, disability, military, or travel reasons. The bipartisan 2005 report of the Commission on Federal Election Reform, chaired by, of all people, former President Jimmy Carter and former Secretary of State James Baker, concluded that, quote, absentee ballots remain the largest source of potential voter fraud, and it is time for Congress to finally address this. Number 4, the Save America Act permanently bans men from competing in women's sports. President Trump signed a landmark executive order upholding the promise of Title IX and ending this dangerous and unfair practice. But now it's time for Congress to codify this into law. Number 5, the Save America Act bans transgender mutilation surgery for children. Again, President Trump signed a common sense executive order to do this and kept his promise to the American people, but now Congress needs to do the same and codify it. It's well past time for Democrats in Congress to stop perpetuating the radical and false claim that you can somehow change a child's sex. You cannot. Passing the Save America Act is the most important thing that Republicans and frankly Democrats can do to strengthen election integrity and protect our democracy. It's what the American people elected Republicans to do, and they must deliver on it as soon as possible. The president is calling on Congress to get the job done and send this historic piece of legislation to his desk immediately for signature. As President Trump...
So that's White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt at the White House press briefing earlier today. So those were, I should say, the introductory comments that she made. We will play for you in just a little bit. The way things go at the press conference is they make introductory comments and then they generally will open things up to select members of the media, those who are still attending, those that they select to ask questions. And that went on for an extended period of time, got a little bit fiery, as we have said. And so we will have that for you. Just stay put right here on Philadelphia Live. Also a little bit earlier today, as I mentioned, I had the opportunity on my 4 o'clock show, Behind the News, on Fox 29 and Fox Local, to sit down with the organizers of a great event that is coming to Philadelphia in the next week. It is a technology job fair and forum and diversity conference and opening doors for individuals. It's happened the last couple of years and people are going in getting tremendous jobs and opportunities right there on the spot. It is coming up soon, and I sat down with one of the organizers of Diversitech. And we make our way down into the green room. Shannon Morales here with us. How are you?
I am doing great, Bill. How are you?
I'm great. Everything's good?
Yeah, I'm exhausted. Diversitech is next week, so really just pushing through and making sure we get to the finish line.
So this is like the 3rd year now that we've kind of come together, talked about it. Yeah. Tell them again, what is Diversitech?
Diversitech is a 3-day conference helping professionals learn, earn, and grow in the tech industry, and it's right here in Philadelphia.
And it's continued to expand. Like last time I was there, there's huge numbers of people who are there.
It's over 1,000 professionals at this point that fly in from all over the country to enjoy 3 days, jam-packed with tech skills workshops, fireside chats, and social experiences.
Why is this so important?
It's so important. As you know, the job market is really tough and competitive right now, and a lot of professionals are finding themselves at this space where they're not sure what to do, they don't know what skills to go after, and they really don't want to waste too much time going after things that aren't going to be of value to them in the workplace. So Diversitech essentially brings those technical skills workshops to you so you can apply them to your work and your business, and we also give them access to companies that are hiring. So we have hundreds of jobs right now that are open. We're title sponsored by Zillow this year, so that's really big for us. Companies like Hershey, Intuit, the city of Philadelphia is also hiring at the conference, and so many more. So if you're looking for a job, it's a great place.
One of the things, last time I was there, I was wowed by the skills, the knowledge, the things that were there, and even in the name, Diversitech. Unfortunately, these are fields oftentimes that minorities and women and others are not immediately kind of thought of and included, but we're excelling in these fields and these doors need to be kicked open.
Absolutely. The companies that are going to be at Diversitech actually want to see more professionals from these marginalized groups in their companies. So therefore, they are coming to the Diversitech for those reasons, to make sure that they're exposing their brand to audiences of color and making sure that we feel comfortable, like we belong in these spaces and have the confidence to apply for these roles. So it's definitely an opportunity. We're bringing the jobs. We want to make sure that talent is there. The opportunities are abundant at the conference. They're not abundant everywhere. We all know that, but they are there at the conference. That's our job, to bring folks to the conference and make sure that the jobs are available for them.
It's cool, it's fun, and you may walk out of there with a job and a career.
Yes, absolutely. In addition, we have a live performance by Rotimi, so that's something that's different than we had in other years. And we also have a 3-on-3 basketball tournament called Code on Court.
What?
Yes.
Code on Court?
Code on Court, yes.
Okay, can anybody play?
I could play. I used to play D1 basketball, and we got some semi-pro folks that are coming out.
Where'd you play?
I used to play at South Carolina State, HBCU.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Okay, so not only can she flat out play, but in the tech industry, helping people get jobs, careers. This is like a Women's History Month segment. It's excellence on display.
Absolutely. And there is a women's empowerment brunch at Accenture on Saturday. So jam-packed 3 days. Almost anything you can think about in those 3 days is going to happen, from social events to workshops.
All right, if people want to sign, they can still sign up. They can still get involved. How
yes.
they do it?
They can go to tribaja.co. That's tribaja.co.
All right, I like it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
Appreciate
Bill.
you coming in.
Appreciate you.
We're going to take a break, but I will tell you, I obviously have been there. We have spoken to them multiple times. It is an outstanding event.
We'll be back in just a second.
We'll be back in just a second. That was a lot. We were trying to figure it out. It was me interrupting me to go to break live after a recorded segment. So let's just reset. We'll be back. Philadelphia Live. Stay tuned. .754 Philadelphia Live on Fox Local and all streaming platforms, looking at the stadium complex. The link down there right now, and of course we are doing it for a reason, because after a day and 12 hours, so 36 hours worth of relative inactivity, Scott Grayson, the Eagles finally step up and do something, and it's actually a pretty good move.
Yeah, I know some people were wondering if Howie Roseman forgot to set his alarm clock and be ready to go here for this. But yeah, today they, not that long ago, in fact, they signed Reek Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks. He's a corner, a one-year deal for about $15 million reportedly. And that is a big deal because it really helps solidify the other side of Quinyon Mitchell in that defensive backfield. And that's a big deal because it allows Cooper DeJean to stay in his nickel spot where he's been so good. So I think it really helped shore up a big part of that secondary. Of course, we know they still have to deal with the departure of Reed Blankenship at safety, but this is one way that they really solidified everything they have going on those corners with allowing, Cooper DeJean to stay in that nickel spot, which is such a big deal. And you can tell, I think, that Vic Fangio probably had his hand on this a lot. I think he really went to Howie Roseman and petitioned for this player. I think Woolen is a guy, he comes from the Seahawks defense, which is very similar to what Vic Fangio likes to run. So I don't think it's going to be hard for him to transition over here, and it gives you that veteran who was just on a Super Bowl winning team to come here and really have to play at a high level in this defense. I think it's a really good pickup, Bill.
It also feels like, at least on the surface, and obviously we got a long time to go, but on the surface it feels like it kind of compensates for possibly not having that dominant pass rusher, at least yet. Because last year, if you didn't get to the quarterback, they picked on the other side of the field. Like, they picked on Adoree Jackson. And with Woolen out there, he can turn the ball over and he can defend.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best ways to get to the quarterback is to make him hold the ball. How do you do that? Well, you make him not want to throw it to the guys who are out there in coverage. And if, as you pointed out, the other side opposite Quinyon Mitchell was not really, solidified. Adoree Jackson got better as the year went on. They were, of course, going to try to get Darius Slay at the end of the season. That, of course, didn't happen because the Buffalo Bills scooped him up first. But they were clearly concerned about that side opposite Quinyon Mitchell. And I think Reek Woolen is going to be a great pickup to really help lock that up. And as you pointed out, if they're covering better and they're locked on those receivers, that's going to allow that pass rush, that extra second or two it may need to get home.
So interestingly enough, people were concerned / upset. Some people were panicked, not doing anything on day one. If this signing had happened on day one, I feel like a bunch of people would have been like, oh, okay, we're wheeling and dealing. So now do you expect that they've kind of opened things up? We'll see more from them.
Yeah, it's funny because we had the question on our Fantastic Sports Show tonight, what grade do you give Howie Roseman? And as expected, there were a lot of C's, D's, and F's. And that started to turn as the show was wrapping up, and we had mentioned all this news that came out about signing Woolen. Yeah, there it is. Better B's now than C's. So I think people are turning a little bit more in favor of what Howie was doing. To your point, Bill, I think had they done this yesterday, what it would have done is taken some of the sting out of losing all those guys. But doing it today in the long run, it really makes no difference. And I think in fact, we've got some breaking news coming in right now. It looks like free agent tight end Grant Calcaterra is coming back to the Eagles on a one-year deal. And that's important because, remember, Dallas Goedert is out there. His contract expires today. So there's some questions about what was going to happen at tight end. Calcaterra, not your tight end number one. He's always been, and I think he will continue to be a backup. But that just in now. The Eagles reportedly agreeing to terms with Grant Calcaterra to stay here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, that seems like a C kind of move, but it makes you wonder what he's preparing for by going ahead and doing that.
Yeah, you mentioned edge rusher. They're still looking there. They got to replace Jalen Phillips, and tight end is still an area of need. That's not to say they're not going to bring Dallas Goedert back. I just think that at this point they're ready to move on from him. Goedert had a great year. He's going to get paid by somebody. I expect somebody, frankly, to maybe overpay for him, kind of like Phillips and Reed Blankenship have gotten, and even to an extent Nakobe Dean. You have to pay some high dollars to get these free agents, and I think Goedert might get his money somewhere else. But Grant Calcaterra coming back, look, you need depth on every team, and that's what this move is.
Now, unfortunately, moving from Eagles to the Sixers, we got some bad news. Sixers barely clinging to a play-in spot, trying to make their way into the playoffs, and now it looks like we've lost Tyrese Maxey for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, yesterday the news came out that his finger, his right pinky, is what he injured, was not broken. Okay, you go, okay, great. They were going to reevaluate him in a couple days. Well, it didn't take long. They found that he, in fact, did have an issue with a tendon in his finger, which is going to keep him out at least 3 weeks. You do the math, you're starting to get close to the playoff time, and I just can't imagine this team being able to do much, if anything, in the playoffs without a Tyrese Maxey. He is their heart, their soul. It is his team now more than it is Joel Embiid's, in my opinion. And they are right now without Embiid. They are without Maxey. They're without Paul George, who's still suspended. They did get VJ Edgecombe back tonight, so that's some good news if you're a Sixer fan looking for anything. But this team, Bill, you just can't help it, man. It feels like they're cursed. It feels like they just can't get out of their own way. These injuries just kill them year after year. And here's another one that might prevent Tyrese Maxey from being able to play in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, it might prevent the Sixers from getting to the playoffs. Like, I think that Maxey, if he gets there, I mean, you got to figure he would be ready for the playoffs, but can they even hold on to get there without him? Now, Paul George's back, what, next week?
I think it's in about 10 days or so. It's right around the same time as the Phillies play their season opener. So, yeah, right. about 10 days, 2 weeks, somewhere in that time frame, he'll be back. And you just look at it, and it's just they are, to your point, they're the 8th seed entering play tonight against the Grizzlies. And when I came in here, they were down by 1. The Grizzlies are a team they should probably beat. They've banged up to themselves. Sixers at home. We'll see what happens tonight. But every game they can win really helps lock up a better chance of getting in. But every game they lose, it puts them that much closer. And to your point, Bill, it is not a guarantee they're going to get in.
Nah, and it's a shame because they looked like they had potential, but it's the same thing every year. And this year, tanking doesn't help us.
No, and how much do you wish you had Jared McCain?
Yeah.
Now that you've had all these injuries and the suspension of Paul George, that trade looks worse and worse every day that goes by.
Yeah, and he looks like the player that we thought he could be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Scott, thank you very much, man.
All right,
Appreciate
no problem,
it.
Bill.
Scott Grayson giving us updates on everything that's going on in sports. Let's take a break, and then we will be right back. It's Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. We'll come back. Hopefully, we'll find some good news. The Sixers, not so much. Eagles are good news. They're making moves. We'll be back. Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. For those of you who are sports fans, we're looking into reports that have started to trickle out that a blockbuster trade for Max Crosby looks like it's off. So we shall see. Don't know what happened there. If you're an NFL fan, we'll try to get some more information and clear that up for you. But that is the report that is starting to trickle out, that the trade sending All-Pro Max Crosby to the Ravens appears to be off right now, and we'll try to figure out why. A little bit earlier, we continued telling you that there are ongoing updates, and earlier today, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, held a press conference along with some of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to share information about where we stand with this conflict in Iran. Here's what he had to say.
Well, to our fellow Americans, brave warriors, and steadfast allies, good morning. You know, as someone who led troops, led soldiers in the streets of Baghdad and Samarra, Iraq, and who trained counterinsurgents in Kabul, Afghanistan, and who still carries the weight of brothers lost to Iranian terrorist proxies, many backed by the same Iranian regime we're confronting now. This fight, Operation Epic Fury, it hits home. Our generation understands this fight. For 47 years, these barbaric savages in the Iranian regime have murdered our brothers in arms, my guys, your guys, our guys, through their terrorist proxies and cowardly attacks. Now they race toward a nuclear bomb to hold the world hostage. The Iranians have targeted and killed thousands of my American brothers. That race to a nuclear bomb, President Trump will never allow it. Not now, not ever, not on our watch. The mullahs are desperate and scrambling. Like the terrorist cowards they are, they fire missiles from schools and hospitals, deliberately targeting innocents, because they know their military is being systematically degraded and annihilated. Iran's neighbors, and in some cases, former allies in the Gulf, they've abandoned them. And their proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and Hamas, either broken, ineffective, or on the sidelines. Iran stands alone, and they are badly losing. On day 10 of Operation Epic Fury, we are winning with an overwhelming and unrelenting focus on our objectives, which are the same as the day I gave my first briefing here on Operation Epic Fury. They're straightforward, and we are executing them with ruthless precision. 1, destroy their missile stockpiles, their missile launchers, and their defense industrial base. Missiles and their ability to make them. 2, destroy their navy. And 3, permanently deny Iran nuclear weapons forever. It's a laser-focused, maximum authority mission delivered with overwhelming and unrelenting precision. No hesitation, no half measures. As President Trump declared yesterday, we're crushing the enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. We will not relent until the enemy is totally and decisively defeated. But we do so on our timeline and at our choosing. For example, today will be yet again our most intense day of strikes inside Iran. The most fighters, the most bombers, the most strikes, intelligence more refined and better than ever. So that's on one hand. On the other hand, the last 24 hours have seen Iran fire the lowest number of missiles they've been capable of firing yet. Just the bifurcation, just the trend lines that we talked about on our first briefing. You see, this is not 2003. This is not endless nation building under those types of quagmires we saw under Bush or Obama. It's not even close. Our generation of soldier will not let that happen again, and nor will this president, who very clearly ran against those kinds of never-ending, nebulously scoped missions. Those days are dead. Instead, we're winning decisively with brutal efficiency, total air dominance, and an unbreakable will to accomplish the president's objectives on our timeline. We stay locked on the target because here at the Department of War, that's our job. Now, the chairman and I, having just returned from Dover last night, our troops and their families and the enormous sacrifice that they make is certainly heavy on my mind. So I'll close with scripture, drawing strength from Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. He is my loving God and my fortress, my stronghold and my deliverer, my shield, in whom I take refuge. May the Lord grant unyielding strength and refuge to our warriors, unbreakable protection to them and our homeland, and total victory over those who seek to harm them. And amen. God bless our troops and this mission. Well, to our fellow Americans, brave warriors, and steadfast
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth was giving an update on the conflict in Iran. So this was a press conference that happened a little bit earlier. He was there with other military leaders, was speaking on the process, speaking on where we stand, and then after that, he made multiple comments. He did. One of the Joint Chiefs of Staff were also there. They made comments, and we will play them for you shortly. But getting caught up on what's going on in real time. So we have continued to talk about the conflict in Iran, continue to try to figure out a time frame. Our Amalia Roy is looking at the impact all of this continues to have on the economy. It's kind of fluctuating. Gas and oil prices are all over the place. Amalia, it's kind of hard to predict what's going to happen next.
Yes, good evening. It has been swinging, but lately the price of oil has been trending down. It peaked yesterday at just under $120 a barrel, but then it was under 90 by the end of the day, and it stayed under 90 since then. Now, this was after President Trump suggested that the end of the conflict could be coming soon, but all of this is still more expensive than the around $70 a barrel the price was at before the U.S. and Israel struck Iran. Today, the national average for gas is at around $3.54 a gallon for regular gas. And then this is compared to $3.48 yesterday, $3.11 a week ago, and $2.92 1 month ago. And even though the oil prices have been falling ever since President Trump's comments, gas prices won't be coming down as quickly.
For every $10 increase in the price per barrel of oil, the price for gasoline that you pay will increase by about 24 cents. So this transmits directly right into your pocketbook. Now, the mind-bending volatility that we've observed over the past couple of days has to do with the realization that the duration of the war was likely going to go on for more than 4 or 5 days.
A major factor in surging oil prices is that shipping traffic in the Strait of Hormuz has all but stopped. About 1/5 of all of the world's oil passes through this narrow body of water. That's about 15 to 20 million barrels of oil a day. But the potential for attacks from Iran has stopped most of the shipments in the Gulf. Back in the U.S., no one's feeling the pain at the pump more than drivers here in California, where the average cost for a gallon of regular is nearly $5.30, $4.50 last month.
In recent memory at its best, it's like $20 less.
It takes me, to refill my tank, my vehicle, it's over $100 a week. Why is that? We don't need this war.
Today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt repeated President Trump's threats against Iran if they target oil shipments. The administration is also offering risk insurance for tankers operating in the Gulf. She also said that the military is exploring all options to make sure the Strait of Hormuz stays open. In Los Angeles, Amalia Roy, Fox 29 News.
Thank you very much, Amalia. We appreciate the updates, and we'll continue to check in with you to see how things continue to change and evolve. Back here in our chat room, there have been people who have been commenting on the gas prices in California and Los Angeles and how they continue to fluctuate, some commenting on just how high it is. We want to remind you that not only are we streaming on Fox Local, so download the Fox Local app. You will have it right there with you. Take us with you. Any breaking news, we are on it. And now we're to the point where we are streaming pretty much 24 hours a day. So if it's happening, we are bringing it to you. But we are also on all the social media platforms, Fox 29 Philly on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, YouTube page. You can see right here over my shoulder, that is my social media at Bill A. Fox 29. That is my Bill Anderson on TV YouTube page. So go ahead and give a follow there on TikTok at Bill A. Fox 29, as well as Instagram. And we continue to interact with you, keep you updated, and check in on all the things that are going on. We are going to continue with the live reports on what's taking place. Going to check in again with our Sarah Allegre, who is looking at what's going on at the airports. We've got more from the Secretary of War that happened a little earlier. There is a story that's associated with our question of the day that you can see on social media. The Girl Scout troop needs your help. They say that if people don't start buying more Girl Scout cookies, then they might have to close down their troop. The problem is that some people are saying they have just gotten so expensive that they can't do it anymore. Some of the comments from my social media page. Quickly, people are saying, one person is, I guess from the troop, is asking us to share it. Another individual says, I already helped them out. I will continue to help as well. Devron says, I support the Girl Scout cookies, but the price for the cookies are a bit much for what you get. Maybe if their portions were a little more, that would be cool. $7 is a bit much for 6 to 12 cookies. But you're doing it for the kids. So would you step up? You can answer the question at fox29.com/go vote or on any of our social media platforms, including my @BillAFox29. Let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. Stay tuned. Philadelphia Live on Fox Local, trying to get an update. Maybe I'll see if we can get our sports team to jump back on and give us any football fans, people who have been following what's going on with football. There is a report that is circulating around that the trade is off. So the trade between the Baltimore Ravens and the Vegas Raiders for All-Pro and superstar Max Crosby apparently is off. So according to published reports, this is Adam Schefter, a tweet that he put out, Las Vegas had initially agreed to trade the 5-time Pro Bowl defensive end to Baltimore in exchange for 2 first-round picks, but no longer. And according to reports, it is the Ravens. The Raiders put out a report that says that the Baltimore Ravens have backed out of our trade agreement. We will have no further comment at this time. So that doesn't sound good. It sounds like the Ravens backed out, not exactly sure why, and they are trying to get more information on that. Our sports department is on it, but it opens up a lot of doors for people who are following the NFL free agency and looking into some of the things that are happening. Teams that thought the trade for Max Crosby was done and how it impacted their team, apparently not. And he's very clearly the biggest name that was out there moving around and changing hands. So we should see. According to the report, again, while neither team shared why the deal was called off, Crosby did not pass his physical ahead of the completion of the deal. All trades are contingent upon a physical. So maybe something came up when they were going through and looking into his physical capabilities. But plenty of teams were throwing around money trying to get Max Crosby. So we shall see what ends up happening with that. All right, control room, where are we going next? We are getting ready to get an update in just a second from our Sarah Allegre, who has continued to give us reports on what's going on with the flights, TSA lines, DHS, and all the challenges that they are facing. So we will see a little bit more about that. And what's happening is, I honestly should try to pull it up and we will show you on screen that there is a situation that I saw in New Orleans airport that the TSA line was so long that it snaked through all of the security gates, went back down through the terminal, all the way down the hall to the parking lot, and had people who were waiting in line in the parking lot. And this was in New Orleans. So there are several things that are going on, several challenges that we're facing. And our Sarah Allegre continues to break it down for us. And based on her report last hour, she's got special skills and tips for how to go ahead and make it through the long lines of TSA, even in the midst of all this drama.
Well, okay, Bill, listen, don't do the hour thing during this time. I will say for my next flight, I will not get to the airport an hour before takeoff. This is not the time to be risky the way I can be when traveling. So the big story, as you said to our viewers of the last hour, don't be like Sarah. Just listen to what she has to say. Come here a couple of hours earlier because we're in this uncertain time. And I like what you said about New Orleans because we saw something similar. We saw the line stretched all the way downstairs. We're at floor 2 to give you some perspective. This line was just wrapped around the building, stretching into the downstairs area. We had people passing out water bottles yesterday, giving some folks snacks in line as well to just hold them over because people were waiting for hours. Today, that's not the story. A lot of people came 4 hours earlier because of how scared they were trying to prepare. But they told me, yeah, they're bummed that they're here waiting for no reason. But at the same time, I'd rather be safe than sorry, right?
Yes. I'm sorry. I was waiting to see if we were going to play the interview that you had with the people.
No, you're good.
But now we're just chatting, right?
Yeah, let's just chat.
Excuse me. So they're sitting there and dealing with these long lines. I know, Sarah, it's late. Like, we're working through all of the different challenges associated with these things. So they were prepared. They had a long time there, and then the line was moving pretty well. So those things kind of settled themselves out.
Yeah, they were for a second. They said, "Hey, you guys scared us. You told us that all the lines were long." We're like, "Hey, we were just reporting the facts yesterday. I mean, people were here for 3 hours. The lines were downstairs. People were getting water bottles because it was so long." And so today, I mean, it was a much better story for people. But they were telling us, "Hey, you know what? We're glad that we showed up very early. We don't want to experience that chaos that so many travelers experienced here in Houston yesterday because of the uncertainty right now. There's a lot of inconsistency too. The line can be smooth at one moment, but shifts change and that kind of thing. Hour by hour, this line can look a whole lot different. Day by day, it could look a whole lot different. You just don't want to take your chances. Yeah, during the weekend, as you can imagine, it was going to be a lot busier. You had a lot of people trying to fly out of Houston, get to that spring break destination. Same story as we continue into the next weekend. People using that time to get out of town. We could expect those TSA lines to potentially get longer. So just during this time, that's why we're hearing rather from the DHS, the TSA saying, hey, you just got to prepare. Also check in with your local airport too, because it all varies depending on where you're located too, how staffing looks in those areas. So right now it's just up in the air, but just talking to some experts throughout the day, they're telling us the longer this shutdown persists, be mindful because we could see this, what we're seeing here at Hobby, expand to other places as well. Right now it's kind of narrowed down to Houston's Hobby Airport. It's a Southwest hub here, so we have a lot of people passing through. I know Charlotte had some problems, Atlanta as well, New Orleans, as you said, talking about that social media video. Yeah, it may not be happening in your neck of the woods, but it could. So just good to be mindful during this time, Bill.
Sir, one more thing. You told us earlier that obviously this is related to the fact that they do not have a budget in place, so they are short-staffed in some circumstances. Yeah. People are working without pay in some circumstances, but the elected officials went home, so they're not going to settle this for at least another week or so.
Yeah, the House is out currently for the week, and so the Senate, they can't move forward with any kind of funding legislation. So when we're talking about the timing here for this shutdown, a lot of us wondering, hey, how long is this going to last? Well, it could be for quite some time. Republicans, Democrats, right now, they're playing the blame game in this political standoff over federal immigration reform. And what we're seeing, travelers, yeah, but more than anything, these TSA officers, these TSA employees, they're being caught in the crossfire.
It's crazy. Thank you very much, Sarah. I appreciate it. Keep us informed. We will continue to check in with you. Sarah's given us tips and also reports on everything that's going on at the airports across the country. Give yourself some advance time, folks, or some extra time, as several TSA workers, again, they're working without a contract. So there are many who are working without being paid. No idea of when that is going to end. And the elected officials, the House is not in session. So they can't get that budget passed at least for another week. This is Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. I'm Bill Anderson. We'll be back in just 1 minute. .28 Philadelphia Live on Fox Local and all streaming platforms. Shout out to everybody who is watching, no matter where you're watching. I am sitting here in the Fox 29 Philly TikTok chat room, but we also have our YouTube page open, so you can go there, express yourself, or just watch. Also our Facebook page, you name it, we are there. And of course, Fox Local, all streaming platforms. And Fox29.com, where our web team continues to monitor everything that is going on, the trending stories, and continues to bring them to you. So Jake is here in studio with us. Cam is out on the camera working the web and making sure, Cam, that we are bringing people all of the topics that they are searching and looking for.
That's right, Bill. And as I'm checking the trends on the website, Fox29.com, I'm looking to see what you guys are looking at the most. And last night, our Jeff Skversky, he covered a story, a shooting that happened on the main line in Berwyn over the weekend that police are calling a random act of violence that left a woman dead. And now we know that the suspect here, he has been held behind bars for charged with attempted murder, I should say. And we have more details on that story on Fox29.com and across our social platforms. Another story that just took off and blew up last night on our Facebook and Instagram. Pennsylvania schools will now be required to teach cursive again, starting on April 12th. There's this new guidance that came a couple months ago when Governor Shapiro signed this law, and now over the course of the spring, the Department of Education will start developing this guideline and these guidances for schools to follow, introducing cursive back into the curriculum. So more details on that on fox29.com and our social media platforms as well.
Cam, did they say why?
They need it. There's some data that's in there, and our very special reporter Isabel, she created this article and she put it together in very depth and thorough, so you can definitely look up to see why. I was shocked myself seeing the story come through, just kind of like growing up, learning how to write in cursive, and it's just appalling in a way to know that some of the students, the younger kids, they might not know how, but I'm very happy in a way that this is being reintroduced and starting in April.
So you can write in cursive?
I can.
Okay.
Yes.
That was the question I was going to go to. I'm trying to see where that cutoff age is. Now, I have handwriting like a 5-year-old child. Like, my handwriting is awful no matter how I'm writing.
Like doctor handwriting?
Yeah, I know, because like failed out of medical school handwriting. But I can do cursive.
Okay, the basics.
Yeah,
it like
it's
came with
instinctive.
it. When we learned our ABCs, we learned how to write it in, you know, regular and in script too, I feel like. But
yes. And that's what I do as standard. Like, I have to catch myself. If I have to write something, I'll start writing in cursive, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just supposed to print this.
You got half cursive, half print.
Yeah, I just don't write anymore.
We're doing a lot
Stay
of
away
this
from
and a
that.
lot of this anyway.
Listen, I picked a career where I'm allowed to talk about it and go forward. Thankfully, I don't have to write it. All right, so all the trending topics and everything we will be following. Cam, did you answer the question of the day? Are you supporting the Girl Scouts? Like right now, they said that people are not buying Girl Scout cookies. They've got so many of them, and there's a specific troop that may have to shut down if people don't pick up the pace. Other people are saying they're just getting too expensive now. The Girl Scouts got to do something about it. So are you supporting the Girl Scouts?
I am always going to be in support of the Girl Scouts. I grew up Troop 377 all the way up to Cadet. But I think times were definitely a lot different now. And in my opinion, it could be a little easier to, you know, get out there, put your QR codes literally blasted everywhere, create some digital series for your Girl Scout cookies where you're promoting them. Like, they got to get a little bit more creative. And I know Jen is going to be on that story with the Girl Scouts and them needing to collect these funds for the season. And hopefully, I feel like a lot of people will come through for them. But it is just a season for the Girl Scouts that they are having, and I'm here for it. I'm gonna buy the cookies.
You talk about getting creative. The end of last week, they were selling Girl Scout cookies out in front of the cannabis dispensary. Everybody was criticizing them for that, and they're like, look, we're selling ours.
We're trying to make this money.
Right? And people were coming out buying up all the Girl Scout cookies out in front of the cannabis dispensary. You know, now people are trying to do it on the street corner and can't get the sales.
And can't get it sold. It's crazy. They're reaching all these hurdles, and I'm sure it's building a lot of character, but it's also very frustrating. So kudos to all the Girl Scouts out there who are struggling a little bit with those sales, and we hope that you can get them up by word of mouth, by us covering it here on Fox 29 and Fox Local. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. Thank you very much, Cam. Appreciate
you,
it. We'll
Bill.
check in with you in just a little bit. Cam is on all the trending topics. Go to fox29.com and you will see all of the stories that they're working on. I'm going to bring the rest of my Girl Scout cookies in here to the office because I'm the person who I see them, I recognize the cause, I always feel bad, so I buy the Girl Scout cookies. I tell you when I think, guys, they started losing money. When they upped the price to $6 and $7, it makes it hard for people who just, like if you've got a $10 bill or if you've got a $20 bill, there's a lot of people who will buy more cookies than they need just because they have the $20 bill and there's the cute Girl Scout there who's trying to do the right thing. And you just give them the 20. Now, you know, it's broken down into weird figures. So you buy 3 boxes and then you got change, or you're gonna give somebody a tip, or you just, like, it become challenging. So I think the marketing strategy is take $1 off of the cost, and then I bet you will sell more. It's addition through subtraction. Knowledge. All right, we're gonna go back to Chris. Are we going to the rest of the Q&A? So Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, we played a little bit of it for you earlier. He was giving an update on what's going on with the conflict with Iran, where it stands. He was talking about the dominance that the United States is demonstrating, and the conversation continued.
Secretary, you talked at the conference in Florida on Thursday that there was a 90% missile capabilities degradation and 83% drone degradation, and I know the chairman just repeated those numbers. We've seen the most amount of fighting these past 5 days. Is there any update to those percentages? And also, are you able to give any quantification of degradation to the enemy's nuclear capabilities yet?
What those numbers represent is a persistent low ability to respond, which is what we're looking for, right? It's if the enemy can simply wait and then project power, that's problematic. And we've seen some spurts here or there, but ultimately the trend lines, if you look at the charts that we look at every day, have gone like this down to a flat. It doesn't mean they won't be able to project. It doesn't mean our air defenders still don't have to defend. They do, but that is strong evidence of degradation, along with the battle damage assessment that the Joint Staff does, which takes time. You've got to look at imagery and recognize whether something's been simply degraded or it's been destroyed, or whether an underground facility has been collapsed or completely obliterated. So there's differences in how you evaluate that, but the numbers staying that low is a demonstration of the efficacy for sure. Yeah, Ryan.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. There's been reports that the new leader of Iran has been wounded. Do you know if this is true and what his condition is? And then another one, President Trump said he had a really good call with President Putin yesterday. Will Russia be aiding us in this conflict, and can you share anything on that?
Well, the president, as I've said before, maintains strong relationships with world leaders, which creates opportunities and options for us in very dynamic ways. So the president said it was a good call. I was not on it, but those that were said it was a strong call, reaffirming hopefully the opportunity for some peace in Russia, Ukraine, and also a recognition that as it pertains to this conflict, they should not be involved. The first question was?
On the new leader of Iran, there's reports that he's been wounded.
Oh, the new leader of Iran. He would be wise to heed the words of our president, which is to not pursue nuclear weapons and come out and state as such. As far as his status, that's not something I can comment on right now. Yeah, right here.
Great. Mr. Secretary, Eric Schmidt with the New York Times. A question for you first. Last week you talked about this being the beginnings of an air campaign that could last 3 to 8 weeks. Can you give us your assessment on where we are now? And Mr. Chairman, in any conflict, the enemy or the adversary adapts to the tactics it faces. Can you talk about the most challenging adaptation the Iranian military has made to the U.S. military? What challenges are you facing most right now? Thank you.
I appreciate the question. Where we are is in a very strong place, giving the President of the United States maximum options. And from the beginning, from this podium, we haven't stated how long it will take. Our will is endless. Ultimately, the President gets to determine the end state of those objectives, right? But what he's said continually, and I want the American people to understand, is this is not endless. It's not protracted. We're not allowing mission creep. The President has set a very specific mission to accomplish. And our job is to unrelentingly deliver that. Now, he gets to control the throttle. He's the one deciding, he's the one elected on behalf of the American people when we're achieving those particular objectives. And so it's not for me to posit whether it's the beginning, the middle, or the end. That's his, and he'll continue to communicate that. What we serve him as is we give him updates on a daily basis of exactly where we are so he can make that determination on the throttle. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the question on adaptation. As you're right, no plan survives first contact with the enemy or Murphy. They're adapting, as are we. Of course, we have very entrepreneurial warfighters out there. I'd rather not, for operational security reasons, tell them what's working. So I'm going to not answer that question based on that. But we are watching what they're doing, and we are adapting faster than they are.
Are they more formidable than you anticipated, General?
I mean, I think they're fighting, and I respect that, but I don't think they're more formidable than what we thought.
Secretary Arzad, thank you. Jordan Conrad from the Gateway Pundit. Axios reported, citing U.S. and Israeli sources, that the U.S. was not happy with strikes on 30 fuel depots in Iran. While this is anonymous sourcing, it seems kind of congruent with what President Trump said yesterday, that there's certain spots they don't want to hit relating to energy infrastructure that would take a long time to rebuild. And you know, whether this reporting is true or not, what's your message to Americans, those who supported the president and those who aren't really in favor of this war and who worry that Israel might be taking advantage of the U.S.'s backing? And then for Mr. Chairman, for you, I wanted to ask, when you say that we're moving inland, what capabilities does Iran have to shoot down jets over their land? And would that trigger some kind of rescue operation that could risk a bigger ground operation?
Well, I would just state by saying Israel's been a really strong partner in this effort. Where they have different objectives, they've pursued them. Ultimately, we've stayed focused on ours. But what Iran has felt is the power of the world's two most powerful air forces. In that particular case, those weren't our strikes or that objective, or that wasn't necessarily our objective. But the president has made it clear to those concerns that we're not getting pulled in any direction. We're leading. The president is leading. He's determining where we want to go, what the outcome will be, what the end state is, with a very keen eye. And I understand those concerns because I've heard from a lot of people who I went through 20 years of those wars myself, worried about getting dragged in, worried about mission creep, worried about nation building or democracy expansion. That's never the perspective the president has pursued on this. Just because previous presidents and previous secretaries have decided to just pour more resources and more people in toward some unguided end state, doesn't mean that's the way the world needs to look today. In fact, the American people voted for a different approach. But what the president also stated from the beginning was Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And it's one thing to say it. It's easy to say. Anybody can say that. I mean, Barack Obama said that. But to do something about it takes courage and resolve. But in that courage and in that resolve, you can also be very scoped in what you're trying to execute to ensure that the sacrifice of Americans, American treasure, American lives, all of those properly meet the objective that you're trying to accomplish. And certainly, as someone I talked out front about what the Iranians have done to our generation, yes, we're clear-eyed about it. But my job is to keep it scoped, given the directive of the president to accomplish the mission.
Thank you for the question. Most of their higher-end surface-to-air missile systems are not factors at this point in time. We're able to move around fighters that are moving deeper with relative impunity. Always some risk out there. I don't want to say that there isn't, and we'll always maintain and retain capability of doing search and rescue type of things. But I don't want to get into the details. But thank you for the question.
Shelley.
Thanks, Mr. Secretary. President Trump told our team on the ground early this morning that the thing that has surprised him the most during the course of this operation so far has been the Iranian regime attacking countries that are not attacking them. I'm curious if that surprised you as well. And General, curious if you were open to the possibility of escorting vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, and if you could describe some of the challenges of doing so.
Big mistake by the Iranian regime to start targeting its neighbors right away, exposing who they are and what they're all about, indiscriminate targeting, flailing recklessly at the beginning. I can't say that we anticipated necessarily that's exactly how they would react, but we knew it was a possibility. And I think it was a demonstration of the desperation of that regime then and that regime now, that they still think their pathway out is to try to alienate their Arab partners even more, who've instead decided to come to us and have been willing to go on the offense, have been giving us access, spacing, and overflight in a new partnership that will continue to remake the region the way that President Trump did with the Abraham Accords. So you're pushing those countries in our direction to support this effort, further alienating Iran. And I think it's worth underscoring. I see in the media banners that say, war expanding or war spread. It's actually the opposite. It's actually quite contained, and more of those countries are coming on side, recognizing that you can't live under a conventional umbrella with nuclear ambitions with a radical regime like that. Again, properly scoping the objectives in the process. And then you want to talk about the Strait?
Sure. On the potential, if tasked to escort, we'll look at the range of options to set the military conditions to be able to do that. And then, like we always do with every potential mission, come to the Secretary and the President with both what are the resources required, what is the command and control required, and what are the risks, and how do we mitigate those risks. So we're looking at a range of options there, and we'll figure out how to solve problems as they come to us.
But I would reiterate also to add to what the chairman said, the truth the president posted last night about that, saying if Iran does anything to stop the flow of oil within the Strait of Hormuz, they will be hit by the United States of America 20 times harder than they have been hit thus far. He goes on to say, death, fire, and fury will rain upon them. You've seen the truth and read it. But he takes very seriously the condition of that straits. We have capabilities that no other nation on earth has, and we're certainly working with our energy partners across the administration to control for that. That's part of that scoping of this. The world needs to understand this doesn't have, this isn't intended to be, nor is it something that will expand. We know exactly what we're attempting to achieve here, scoped properly, and the American people can count on that for sure.
Thank you so much, Secretary Hegseth. President Trump has long said that he wants to minimize the loss of life in war, which wherever it occurs in whatever country, which so many people obviously appreciate. Can you detail the specific measures the Pentagon is taking to minimize civilian casualties and strikes inside Iran? And secondarily, is the Pentagon prioritizing replenishment of precision-guided munitions, long-ranged strike weapons, or air defense interceptors? And can you share any details on which systems are being prioritized?
Yeah, seeing it from the inside every single day, including this, no nation takes more precautions to ensure there's never targeting of civilians than the United States of America. From the boat strikes in the Caribbean, where every single strike is assessed to this campaign here, no nation in the history of warfare has ever attempted in every way possible to avoid civilian casualties. And frankly, that's a point that just isn't appreciated enough. Where things happen that need to be investigated, we will investigate. To the question shouted in the back, that it's not open source is not the place to determine what did or did not happen. We take things very, very seriously and investigate them thoroughly, which takes time, and which is why it does take time. But ultimately, unlike Iran, who targets civilians indiscriminately, who we've seen in the intel moving rocket launchers into civilian neighborhoods, near schools, near hospitals, to try to prevent our ability to strike. That's how they operate. And then they set the targeting of drones and missiles toward civilian targets, hospitals, hotels, airports. CENTCOM's been very good about putting that information out. That's how terrorist regimes fight. They target civilians. We do not. And I can tell you this administration and this Pentagon focuses on that very, very closely. Go ahead.
You will hold someone accountable if it turns out that was a
this morning, the Iranian government is saying a lot. They continue to say they're prepared for a long war. If that's the case, what could you tell the American people as far as the steps the Department of War is taking to make sure our troops have the protection and the resources they need as the mission continues?
I think there's one thing I can sleep quietly at night knowing is that we're giving every resource humanly possible to our troops on the front lines to ensure they're protected. In fact, as I said in that first press briefing, even before we set the offense, we set the defense. We made sure we had the ability to defend, and then we moved as many Americans off the bases and into other places as possible. So as this progresses, the chairman, or the question was asked of the chairman about how the enemy adapts. Well, of course, we adapt too in real time. And to watch our warriors iterate on air defense and interdiction on drones and missiles and how we get after it, it's incredible how they refine the tactics, bring in new assets to find different ways of getting at emerging technologies. So that is one of the things we're laser focused on every day. Yes, we're going on offense more effectively than any country in human history, but we're also ensuring that in every way possible we're defending the best Americans we have who wear our uniform, no doubt. Let's do one more.
Thanks, Secretary Hegseth. The president has indicated that maybe the operation will wrap up sooner than he thought it was going to. What's the plan once the U.S. stops military action? Will the U.S. play a role in the aftermath, or will they leave Iran to sort it out?
Ultimately, the aftermath is going to be in America's interests, our interests. We won't live under a nuclear blackmail scenario of conventional missiles that can target our people. which is why the objectives have been scoped from the beginning. Missiles, missile production, a defense industrial base, Navy, all in service of ensuring they don't have nuclear power projection capabilities. That's what matters to President Trump. That's what matters to the American people. And ultimately, that's why we're so laser focused on ensuring those objectives and those objectives alone are met. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Secretary of War Pete Hegseth in a press conference and a briefing that took place a little bit earlier today, giving an update on where he says we stand in this ongoing conflict with Iran. Before we go to break, our cameras are spread all throughout the area, and you can see that there's a tornado warning in Oklahoma City, and this is one of our sister stations that is out kind of on tornado watch in Oklahoma City. It's been really interesting video that's been going on, as there apparently is one of the trucks, you know, these weather machines that the various stations have that will go out and kind of search for the storm, and in some circumstances position themselves near or as close to the storm as possible to go ahead and watch. And that's what's going on with this shot, as a tornado warning is in Oklahoma City. We're going to check in with our Fox Weather in just a little bit, as they are covering it as well and explaining. Apparently there's a couple of serious storms making their way across the country, a couple tornado warnings, and you can see this one, just the lightning, and it almost looks like you can see the tornado kind of forming off to the right. It's a really interesting shot. So we're going to try to get this all situated, get an update from Fox Weather, and let you know exactly what is going on. Wow, so I see on another one of the monitors you can actually see a closer shot, it looks like, of an actual tornado or a hurricane that is developing. This is a shot from our Fox Weather team, and it is another one of those cameras that have positioned themselves right in the middle of, right in the middle of hurricane, tornado, and seeing the impact that it is having as cars are driving, looks like right through it, or certainly right on the tail end of it. And it would make perfect sense that as they go to drive through it, then the signal would lock up or freeze because you're going through a tornado or a hurricane. But this is just an update on some of the things that are going on across the country. Maybe we will get Scott Williams in a weather update to give us his take on some of the things that are taking place. But again, look at that one. Seeing the tornado impact. And these are people who are just out there sending in video to Fox Weather, or in some circumstances, the weather team from the various stations are out there covering it on their own. But just impressive, scary, and just interesting to see the development of those tornadoes and those storms. Let's take a quick break, and then we will come back and continue on, get some more information on these storms that are sweeping across the country. This is Philadelphia Live on Fox Local and all streaming platforms. We'll be right back. Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. Again, all streaming platforms. We have been participating with people in the various chat rooms. Fox 29 on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, we are there. We're interacting. We're sharing the information in real time. And if you have questions or comments, you can go ahead and put them in the chat room. We'll do our best to try to respond. And one of the questions, if you see me looking down, that's why I'm following the information of people who are interacting with us. But one of the questions we put up on social media on my Bill A. Fox 29 Instagram and TikTok page had to do with the story that our Jen Lee has been working on and asking people, are they going to step up and help the Girl Scouts? So apparently a local troop is dealing with some challenges, and we asked people, are they willing to step up and do what they have to do? Jen, this particular troop could face some challenges if they can't get these cookies sold. They just have so many of them.
Yes, they do. And I want to put it in perspective because last year this troop actually ordered 18,000 cookies to sell, and they sold them within the 2-month deadline that they're usually allotted. This time they decided to even purchase less in the beginning, about 17,000. I was told if everything was over today, this Girl Scout troop, which is Girl Scouts of Eastern PA Troop 902 based out of Fishtown, they would be in the hole. The co-leader told me bankrupt of $20,000. So financially, this is a super challenging situation that this local troop is in right now. And there are over 60 members. They're trying to figure out, why this might be the case, but it could be, a number of reasons why. For example, the co-leader, who's also a parent of 3 of the scouts, said, maybe people are taking their New Year's resolutions a little more seriously. And actually, the deadline for cookie sales has been extended. It was supposed to be March 8th. Now it's until March 22nd. So they have just over 10 days left to sell they need to sell at least 4,000 cookies. And the reason they got this extension is because this winter, it's just been so rough. So, you had those 2 big snowstorms. I know we've had, additional snow days, plus the temperatures that were single digits to teens, under freezing. And people who are familiar with the Girl Scouts know they could be as young as kindergarten all the way up to seniors in high school. So especially for the little ones, they call them the daisies, it's too cold for them to be outside when it's under 32 degrees. So I think this has just been a very challenging year. So today you're seeing video over in Fishtown at the Recreation Center, Schisler Recreation Center, as well as Palmer Park. We saw booths out. The Girl Scouts, they're out there trying to sell cookies. They usually go out on weekends, which of course they're going to be out the next 2 weekends before the deadline as well. And I also want to point out something the co-leader said. Thin Mints, extremely popular every year, and that goes for the peanut butter patties as well as for the caramel delights. So my photographer, Aaron Sachs, and I, of course, we had to buy some cookies to support the Girl Scouts here. But what the co-leader told me, they had no problem, again, with the Thin Mints, always very popular each year. They usually rely on the sales of these 2 types of cookies as well, but apparently they're not doing as well. And they have about 60 cases of each of these types of cookies. So the caramel delights and the peanut butter patties. And I love these, so I don't know what's going on there.
So the caramel delights, they're not the ones with the coconut, right?
Coconut. I like the coconut in my granola, everything.
I can't stand coconut.
But you did
the other
mention
2 sound great.
Peanut butter before.
Yeah, I'm all in on the peanut butter. If you got any extras, tell them I got you on the peanut butter. I got a box of them at home. And the Thin Mints you can keep forever because you just put them in the freezer.
Pop
and then
them in the
people go
freezer.
ahead and use them as a treat. And I told you that my hack, Jen, is get one of those Ninja Creamy ice cream machines. I have one of those. They make really healthy ice cream, but they have a mix-in button. So after you make your healthy ice cream, then you drop in 3 or 4 of the Thin Mint cookies, hit mix in, and you got your own cookies and cream ice cream. So
I love
stack
that.
up. Maybe they should do that. They should sell the ice cream right there at the shop, stand.
Maybe they should just go, like you said, outside the ice cream shop. And I will say, years ago, with a group of friends, we went to a winery. and they had a Girl Scout cookie tasting to pair with, you know, different types of wines. So I mean, it's classic. You know, you have to get them every year. And I just want to, you know, push out their last call to the community here. So this weekend, as well as next weekend, they're going to be outside La Colombe, as well as Joe's Steaks. And they also have a Facebook page. So if you want to support them, you can certainly do that through online. We're going to have all of that information posted on our website. And hey, let's say you are trying to do a little health kick and stay away from sweets and sugar. You can still, you know, purchase cookies, but cookies that the Girl Scout troop can then donate. So they donate to, you know, shelters, the elderly as well as veterans. So, you know, you're doing good by purchasing these cookies, and of course it supports programming for the Girl Scout troops as well.
You got it, Jen, and we have the link up. All that information is up on fox29.com so people know where to go to support them. Still got a couple of weeks. Thank you very much.
It'll be on later tonight, so go look out for it.
Sounds good. On the 10 o'clock news. Right after we wrap up here on Fox Local, Jen will have her story and more information on the Fox 29 News at 10. So we were talking a little bit about these storms that are sweeping across the country. We're looking at these tornadoes and hurricanes, some really interesting and impressive video that we have seen. So we asked our Scott Williams to jump on and let us know a little bit about what's going on. Scott, you started mentioning it before, but now we're seeing the video. It's impressive. It's a little bit scary seeing the people getting so close to tornadoes and hurricanes.
Yeah, absolutely. Watching a potent cold front off to the west of us, that will impact us tomorrow afternoon and evening, of course, with a severe weather threat. But we're not watching hurricanes. Just want to clarify that. No hurricanes. These are tornadoes, and we have active tornado warnings ongoing just outside of Oklahoma City. Here's one in particular that crossed Interstate 35 as well as 44. Lots of heavy rainfall, lots of lightning, as well as a pretty intense hail core with this. This is a discrete cell, a supercell. It's kind of isolated by itself, not really competing for moisture. And you can see those winds out of the south pumping in that moisture, creating those strong updrafts that will lead to those downdrafts. And this is a rotating column of air. Tornado warning in effect until 8:15 local time there as it continues moving on off to the north and east. Numerous reports of hail outside of Oklahoma City, and you can see this is in and around the Jones area, continuing to move on off to the east-northeast at a pretty good clip right now. But of course, some of that video from Fox Weather showing you just the dynamic intensity of this storm with the rain shaft, the hail core, and just watching everything unfold out in Oklahoma. But well, take a look at this front. It stretches all the way from Canada to parts of Texas. So along and out ahead of it, we have the instability, we have the moisture, we have that battle of the air masses. Temperatures out ahead of this have been in the 70s and 80s. Winter precipitation behind this front, and that will be moving in for our area. We're talking about winter change as we get toward the end of the week. So take a look at some of the other tornado warnings moving outside of Illinois as well as into Indiana. So just classic signature on that one that moved through Kankakee, now into sections of Indiana, producing heavy rainfall as well as potential tornadoes. Some of these have been confirmed tornadoes that have been moving through Illinois as well as Indiana. We'll take you back toward Oklahoma City, and then you can see severe thunderstorms as well. So just monitoring just severe weather, not only in Oklahoma, but take a look at this just outside of the Dallas area, looking at a line of showers, thunderstorms turning severe, as well as the potential for that tornado within some of this activity as well. Now, for us tomorrow, 3 p.m. until about 11 o'clock, that window for severe weather. The main threats for our area will be some damaging wind as well as some hail. Philadelphia points off to the south and west. So take a look at this. Severe weather threats. You can see the highest probability is going to be some damaging winds. Next up on that list would be some hail, potentially the size of quarters. Low, but not no, a flash flood threat, as well as can't rule out an isolated brief tornado for our area tomorrow afternoon and evening. So as we go hour by hour, you can see what we're watching, pop-up showers and thunderstorms kind of moving through the area. this is out ahead of the cold front. The actual cold front won't really impact us until we get toward Thursday. So what develops out ahead of this is still going to be in a warm, moist environment. So some discrete supercells could form, especially tomorrow evening around the dinner time frame, moving into Delaware as well as South Jersey. Then as we move toward Thursday, here's the actual cold front. Temperatures in the morning are going to be in the 60s, falling throughout the day to the 30s and the 40s. There could even be a little bit of wet snow mixing in as that front pushes to the south and east. So just wild weather expected for the month of March. A March madness, if you will, in the weather department. Now, high temperatures today, record-breaking 83 degrees for Philadelphia. That beat the old record 10 years ago of 82 degrees. Temperatures Wilmington, low 80s, as well as for Reading. That's more typical of June. So about 30 degrees above where we should be for this time of year, which is 51 degrees. And we're talking temperatures still at this 9 o'clock hour. I mean, look at this, upper 60s to low 70s out there across the area. Very comfortable and very unseasonably warm. Temperatures for tomorrow start in the 50s, and look at the numbers. Moving back into the 70s, so chasing records again tomorrow. The record, I believe, is 74 degrees set back in 2021. But thunderstorms popping up tomorrow afternoon. And then Thursday, temperatures start around 60 degrees in the morning, fall into the upper 30s by the evening. So winter is making a big comeback. Now spring officially arrives 10 days from now. But next Tuesday, we're talking high temperatures stuck in the 30s. Oof.
Yeah. Oof.
Ouch.
Oof is a perfect answer. Scott, from a science standpoint, is there a reason, like we've seen real extremes in the last couple of weeks, from, you know, painfully cold to record-breaking heat?
Yeah.
Is that it's just like that sometimes, or is there some reason we're seeing it?
It's the atmosphere kind of balancing itself out. So while we were dealing with, you know, the temperatures stuck below freezing for over a week in the East Coast, the West Coast was dealing with a warm condition. So we had a big trough in the east, big ridge in the west, and now things have kind of shifted where we're getting kind of that ridge building for 2/3 of the country. That's why we're getting these temperatures in the 60s, 70s, and 80s the past several days. But that is going to be shifting on out as we get toward the end of the week with that reality check. So it's really, you know, the synoptic pattern. That's the overall pattern across the lower 48 that we're watching, these highs, these lows, big frontal systems that are going to be changing the weather over the next several days. But, you know, it's kind of cyclical, if you will, and just kind of a balance, seeking a balance. Mother Nature trying to balance itself out. So we're not done just yet with winter, or the winter temperatures for that matter.
All right, I'm just going to enjoy the 83, the 70s tomorrow. We'll talk about the winter temperatures more later on. Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate it, and all the update and explanation as it relates to the tornadoes. And we still have the cameras. There's one that we were continuing to look at that's just really kind of cool video of people who are out there in the middle of these storms and just taking a look at them. And again, these are some of, it looks like somebody's getting ready to get out of the car and get more of a shot. So we have most of these stations, all of us, the owned and operated, the sister stations, if you will, all obviously have weather teams, but most have these kind of, these vehicles that will go out there and try to cover the weather and cover it live, and they're seeking out additional places where they can go and best cover what's going on. So you see one of them that we're looking at that is right there in the middle of the storm. This one in Illinois, guys? Or is this part of the, these are the ongoing ones that Scott was talking about. It's basically, you know, throughout the middle part of America. So this one's Oklahoma City that we were looking at. Scott was talking about some that were hitting the Illinois area, but this is someone who is driving around in Oklahoma City. And again, these tornadoes that are hitting the areas, extreme weather, extreme storms, it's dangerous, and so they're out there giving the information for people to stay in, but you always have folks who will go out and try to capture additional video. And some of these cameras and some of these shots are ones that our own people, and you can see first responders on the scene there, our own kind of family of stations is out there getting them. And then some of them are just people who were close to tornadoes or close to damage, and they have gone out there and recorded them themselves, and they're sending them into Fox Weather or some of the stations that we have across the country. And so that's kind of what we're looking at. You're looking at some of the damage there, but there we are again with more of the coverage as folks who are just out there. So this one is the tornado warning in Oklahoma City, and they're just driving around, capturing video of it and kind of tracking the tornado as it makes its way through Oklahoma City. So we will continue to keep you up to date with what's going on with all of this. This is breaking and developing. Obviously, it is not impacting us directly here in Philadelphia, but we are streaming. So people all across the country are watching. Also people who have friends and family in those areas, and people who are just interested in the things that are taking place. We continue to keep you updated with that. We're going to take a break. We'll come back and get a little bit more of it, so stay with us. This is Philadelphia Live on Fox Local and all streaming platforms. We'll be right back. Philadelphia Live on Fox Local and all streaming platforms. I continue to remind you that you can follow me at Bill A. Fox 29. There it is, telling you where to find me on all social media platforms. Bill A. Fox 29 and Bill Anderson on TV on YouTube. But also, obviously, I am in the chat room with all of the folks from the Fox 29 Philly TikTok page. We've been interacting with you throughout, people making comments, people continue to chat. Jake has been in and out of the YouTube page, the Facebook page, the question of the day. We're getting some updates, and we will let you know. Or if you're are you gonna support the Girl Scouts? Are people on board? Yeah, Jake said mostly people are on board.
People are mostly on board. You know, there are a few people who are saying they're too expensive. A lot of people on Facebook are chiming in. The poll itself, it's kind of up and down. I feel like yes is in the lead currently, but there was a moment where no was...
You're not going to support the Girl Scouts?
No, and people have a lot of reasoning. Some people are saying the ingredients, they're trying to be healthy. Other people are just like, I'm not going to go out of my way. Personally, I would support the Girl Scouts. I mean,
Yeah.
if I'm walking wherever and I see a table of Girl Scouts trying to be creative, I'm not going to
You
look
have
the
to.
other way.
Nah.
You know, recently I saw
Be like, get away from me.
I saw a group and there was a girl dressed up as a cookie and she made up a Girl Scout cookie song, and I was like, listen, I don't even need Girl Scout cookies, but like, how can I say no to that?
Right.
You know?
I buy them and I give them to people.
Right.
It's kind of like my candy dish in my office.
Right.
Like, I rarely eat it, but they've gotten expensive.
They have
Like, I
gotten
used to
expensive.
give like the $20, and then you would get 4 boxes back.
Yes.
And you go, oh, okay,
No.
I'll support you.
100%, and that's what people are saying on Facebook. People are saying they can get the same cookies at places like Aldi, and they're so much cheaper. People are saying maybe if the boxes had more cookies in it, and you're kind of getting more bang for your buck.
It's a tough economy.
Yeah,
it's hitting the
is.
Girl Scouts too.
I know. It seems like people want to help, but they're kind of turned off by the price. Now, there are some people who are saying, I'm buying 10 boxes. I'm
Nice.
doing everything I can to help them. But I don't know. I guess I think it's one of those things that is just like up and down depending on like where people are financially
Society.
and stuff. It's almost like Girl Scout cookies are a privilege, you know?
I mean, they're not a necessity.
No.
You know, so they are it's something that you do because you want
Right.
to.
100%.
You want to support the cause also, and then just
Right.
hold on to the cookies.
Exactly.
All right, so go to fox29.com. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Fox29.com/go vote. Let us know what you think. You also can hit me up on my socials at Bill A Fox29. Give a follow, give an answer, and Fox29 Philly on TikTok. The question is there as well. Let us know. You're going to support the Girl Scouts in their time of need. Apparently, people are not buying the cookies right now. All right, let's get to sports. So Marcus has stepped up to the camera. And Marcus, so I guess kind of breaking and developing. It's not that relevant, or maybe it has some impact on Philly. But after all the hoopla and what have you, the Max Crosby deal's off?
Yeah, so the Ravens backed out of the trade, and it seems that it's due to medical reasons due to Max's physical. Sorry. Yeah, so it seems to medical reasons as to why the trade is not going to work out. And it could be relevant because there is a chance that Crosby could find his way to the NFC East. I know Dallas was a heavy candidate for him, as well as other teams being aggressive as well. So yeah, he could find his way on in our area.
Does that potentially, I mean, and obviously it comes down to what the team is willing to accept, because Dallas apparently made an offer as well. But if there was something in his medical that made the Ravens back out, does that potentially lower the price, or it just requires another team to go, look, I've seen him play, I'll take the risk?
Honestly, I thought the same thing. I thought that kind of would hurt his stock in terms of whether or not teams would be aggressive for him. I think teams still would be. I think there's just some things that he could, it's going to take some time for him to recover from certain issues. I believe it was reported that he had a meniscus injury towards the end of last season. So that kind of stuff is where I think teams, I at least would be patient enough to wait. And then I think the wait's going to be worth it. So I would say still pursue him. I understand why teams would back out of it, but I personally would say keep going.
Okay, tell us what you think about the Reek Woolen signing for the Eagles.
I like it. I mean, he did really well for Seattle. Obviously, he's a Super Bowl champ, so he's got plenty of experience deep in the playoffs, which is always a plus when the Eagles get there. And I think he fills in a certain role that will really help, and also it'll take care of other pieces like Cooper DeJean and other members of the secondary as well. So I think he'll actually be a good addition to the Eagles. And there's also other additions as well. Grant Calcaterra is going to stay for another year with the Eagles. He was a good fill-in whenever Dallas Goedert was injured, or if they just needed an extra receiver, he was good and fit that role. And also in another role that's going to be fit for the Eagles is Johnny Munt. He's formerly a Jaguars tight end, but what I'm seeing is that he is one of the top pass blockers out of all the tight ends. So I think the Eagles got him specifically for that role as a pass blocker, or just as a blocker in general. So I think that's actually going to be a really good addition for them. I looked him up and just thought, how out of 7 years this man has only had 4 receiving touchdowns, and the Eagles thought that's a good deal. But digging into it, he's got some blocking strengths to him to where the Eagles will definitely make use of him.
So they just went. I hadn't heard that they went ahead and signed him today after the Reek Wollins.
Reported. Free
Okay.
agency, like everything's official starting tomorrow, but reportedly he is with the
Interesting.
Eagles.
That's interesting because that's not a name you seemingly go out of your way to announce. Like that one feels like a filling up a roster spot for some competition later in approaching training camp. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think just certain schemes that maybe Manny Young is going to have with this with this offense is going to need certain, like maybe an extra blocker here and there, maybe a couple like wide runs with Saquon, or maybe just someone to help give Jalen an extra little bit of time to make throws and whatnot. So I think they had a puzzle. They saw where he could fit in with some of those plans. So I think they know what they're doing in that regard.
And then finally, the Sixers are playing now, right? And they're
Yes.
playing without their entire team. Edgecombe's back tonight.
Edgecombe is back tonight as I'm looking up the score right now. Sixers are actually up by 4 in the fourth quarter. They're hosting the Memphis Grizzlies right now. Taking a look at the box score, Kelly Oubre, 26 points. 26 points. VJ Edgecombe, 21 points in his return. Cam Payne, 27 points off the bench, 7 for 7 behind the arc. So this team's been shooting, so it's going to be a good finish. But yeah, I mean, it's looking good. It's looking bright for them so far. I mean, like you said, they're not playing really a lot of people, but we talked about it numerous times this week. The guys that are in are stepping up when they need to, and it's right now this is starting to show what happens when guys actually play what they're getting paid to do.
Yeah, this one's interesting because they're playing another tanking team. But then you go ahead and look at the numbers. Again, Cam Payne's giving you 27, Kelly Oubre 26, Edgecombe 21, Grimes got 19.
Yep.
Where's all of this production when you have your players out there ready to go?
Listen, Maxey, take all the time he needs. He'll be reevaluated in a few weeks. Joel, take your time. Paul George will be back by the end of the month. So you know what? We got this. We got this. We're gonna stay strong to that 8th spot. That 8th place.
Okay.
It's ours.
We're clinging to the play-in, the playoff.
Absolutely.
All
Play
right.
it or bust.
Sounds
There you
good.
go.
There we go. Thank you, Marcus.
Of course.
Appreciate it. The Sixers are clinging to a 2-point lead right now. How much time is left in that game? About 6 minutes left in that game, playing against a team that's trying to lose. Now let's see if they can go ahead and figure out a way to get this victory against a team that is doing their best to tank, to see if they can get better draft picks. The Sixers don't have that luxury because they don't own their own draft pick unless it falls in the bottom 4, the top 4, unless they have one of the 4 worst records, and that's just almost mathematically impossible at this point in the season. So you might as well give it everything that you got. See if they can pull one out. We continue to kind of look into all of the damage that's going on, the tornadoes that are taking place, some of the weather issues that are impacting several places across the country, as we are on a little bit of tornado and storm damage watch across the country. So Illinois has been hit pretty good. Scott was telling us a little earlier about some of the tornado damage you see here, first responders on the scene. We've seen multiple pictures of trees down, wires down, and some damage to buildings in Illinois. We also have been following up on what's going on in other parts of the country. Our Fox Weather continues to look closely at all the things that are going on across the country with these updates. They have people who are out on tornado watch. This camera now is adjusting, oh wow, so showing you some of that damage that we were focusing on. That again is in Illinois. So you can see the strong impact that some of these storms, the tornadoes, the strong winds that Scott was mentioning, you can see the impact that it is having in multiple areas across the country. So we will continue to follow up with this, continue to get you as much information as we can as this continues on. But you can see, this is the camera from one of our sister stations. So they are on the scene there, likely our station in Chicago, that would make sense. They are on the scene there. getting updates on all the things that are taking place. So let's go ahead, get one more break in, and then we will come back. There's still some things we need to get you caught up on. We're going to check in with Fox Weather. We also have more from the Q&A at the White House briefing earlier today. So a lot going on. Just stay with us. It's Philadelphia Live on Fox Local. Philadelphia Live on Fox Local and all streaming platforms. I don't want to jinx it, but since we talked DeMarcus and sports, our Sixers have gone on a little bit of a run playing against a team that obviously is trying to lose, but somebody's got to win the game. And so the Sixers are stepping up right now. A bunch of players who always had the capacity to score, but generally that's not their role. So Kelly Oubre's got 28 points, 9 rebounds so far tonight. VJ Edgecombe, the rookie, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Quentin Grimes, 21 points. Cameron Payne, who's been with the team for about 2 weeks and was playing overseas 3 weeks ago, has 27 points and 10 assists as the Sixers are currently up 11 on the Memphis Grizzlies. So let's go, Sixers. All you got to do is get into the playoffs, and then you've got a chance. Okay, so a little bit earlier we were talking about, obviously, the White House press briefing. We heard the update that Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt gave to the media, but then the media started asking questions. They had a lot of questions on a lot of various topics, and here's what they had to say.
One of the biggest things that the Democrats are saying, the claims that they're making, is that the Save America Act, it would prevent married women from voting in elections or make it harder for them. What do you have to say to those claims? Is there any validity to them, and where do you think they're getting this from?
There is zero validity to these claims, and I'm glad that you brought them up, because you have the Democrats who have created this myth, and it has been perpetuated, unfortunately, by many in the mainstream media. Let me be very clear. The Save America Act does not prohibit anyone from voting, with the exception of illegal aliens. And the greatest way to disenfranchise American citizens from voting in American elections is to allow illegal aliens to vote, which is what Democrats want to do. We see it taking place in Democrat jurisdictions at the state and local level across this country. So the Save America Act corrects that. And as far as married women who have changed their name, if they're already registered to vote, they're entirely unaffected by the SAVE Act. And for the small fraction of individuals who have changed their name or their address, they can still register to vote, of course. They just have to go through their state processes to update that documentation. And this is something that the American people, married women, and minorities, and people all across this country who Democrats are insultingly saying cannot do this, they're already already doing it every day, going to the Social Security office, going to the DMV, and I think it's frankly insulting that the Democrats are saying that there are certain groups of people in this country who aren't smart enough to update their documentation to allow them to vote. Again, this is a huge myth, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to address it.
Of course, and then just one more question about DHS. The funding issue has been 3+ weeks now. I was at the airport this morning in St. Louis, Missouri, and it was early in the morning, and one of the TSA agents, I saw she was kind of tearing up, she was crying, and I asked her, I was like, what's wrong? And she was like, I can't make my phone payment, I can barely make my car payment that's coming up. I think a lot in the Beltway, there's so much noise between Democrats, Republicans. It's the Democrats' fault, it's the Republicans' fault. But what is the White House's message to the American people that are struggling because they're not getting that paycheck? Take away the politics. What do you have to say to those people?
President Trump wants the Department of Homeland Security. He wants TSA, he wants FEMA, he wants the brave men and women of our United States Coast Guard to receive their paychecks, and he wants this department to be fully funded and fully reopened. And so to any American out there who is struggling without a paycheck, we know there's more than 100,000 of you across the country. To any American out there who is showing up to an airport and facing incredibly long wait times and lines, call your Democrat member of Congress and tell them to fund the Department of Homeland Security. That's what President Trump wants to do, and it's completely ridiculous that the American people are suffering as a result of these partisan games that are being played by Democrats on Capitol Hill. Thank you. Steve.
You said the operation was going faster than anticipated. What is your current timeline for how long the war will last?
So look, as you know, Steve, the President and the U.S. military's initial timeline was about 4 to 6 weeks to achieve the full objectives of Operation Epic Fury. Again, to destroy their missiles and their ability to make them, destroy their Navy, permanently deny them nuclear weapons forever, and to, of course, weaken their evil terrorist proxies in the region. We know that the U.S. military and our brave warfighters are quickly and expeditiously executing these objectives well ahead of schedule, but ultimately the operations will end when the Commander-in-Chief determines the military objectives have been met, fully realized, and that Iran is in a position of complete and unconditional surrender, whether they say it or not.
Does the President still want Iran's unconditional surrender?
Well, when President Trump says that Iran is in a place of unconditional surrender, he's not claiming the Iranian regime is going to come out and say that themselves. What the president means is that Iran's threats will no longer be backed by a ballistic missile arsenal that protects them from building a nuclear bomb in their country. I could make an empty threat, but if I have no actions to back it up, then it's an empty threat. And so President Trump will determine when Iran is in a place of unconditional surrender, when they no longer pose a credible and direct threat to the United States of America and our allies. Adriana.
Can you explain why the Energy Secretary posted and then appeared to have deleted a post on X saying that the U.S. Navy escorted an oil tanker through the Strait of Hormuz?
Yes, I was made aware of this post. I haven't had a chance to talk to the Energy Secretary about it directly. However, I know the post was taken down pretty quickly, and I can confirm that the U.S. Navy has not escorted a tanker or a vessel at this time, though, of course, that's an option the President has said he will absolutely utilize if and when necessary at the appropriate time.
And if this was something that was posted erroneously, could it be because of a staffer? Will there be any consequences for this? I know you still have to consult, but just generally speaking.
Again, I would defer you to the Department of Energy to answer that question.
And if I could just follow up really quickly.
Sure.
In terms of oil sanctions, the President said that there would be some sanctions that would be lifted. Would those be on Venezuela, Russia? Could you give some specifics there and then timing for that as well?
Sure. I know it's something that the Treasury Department and the President's energy team continue to discuss, and they will ultimately consult with the President before decisions are made. I don't have any announcements on new sanctions or the lifting of new sanctions for you today. Alex.
Thank you. Reuters has reported that about 150 U.S. service members have been injured so far. Can you confirm that number and elaborate on that?
I can't confirm the exact number. I know it's within that ballpark, but I would defer you to the Pentagon for a specific number of wounded or injured thus far.
And then secondly, if I can, I wanted to ask about, there was a briefing on the Capitol Hill today, and some senators came out and said they were more convinced than ever that there would be U.S. boots on the ground. Senator Blumenthal said that, in fact. Your reaction to that and any update on President Trump's thinking about it?
Look, I would say that Democrats on Capitol Hill are clearly being quite disingenuous. 3 years ago, not a single Democrat voted against the resolution condemning Iran as the world's leading state sponsor of terror. Yet now, with President Trump as commander-in-chief finally taking the action that so many Democrats have called on the commander-in-chief to do for many, many years, to wipe out the threat of a rogue Iranian terrorist regime, now all of a sudden Democrats are playing politics with this long-standing bipartisan policy of the United States, and 53 of them in the House recently voted against the resolution condemning Iran as the world's state sponsor of terror. So I wouldn't take Democrats at their word. As for boots on the ground, the president has talked about this repeatedly. Wisely, he does not rule options out as commander-in-chief. So again, I would hesitate to confirm anything that a Democrat on Capitol Hill says right now about the president's thinking. Garrett.
John, you outlined to Steve the military components of what would be involved in ending this war, but it seems like there's a political component too. The president said to Fox earlier today that he doesn't believe the new Ayatollah can live in peace. He made a variety of comments suggesting that he should be involved in picking the new Iranian leader. Is the ending of this war also contingent on Iran selecting a leader that the president finds acceptable? And if so, how is that not the definition of a regime change war?
Look, as President Trump has blatantly and frankly stated, it's obviously within the best interest of the United States and the West to no longer have a radical terrorist in charge of Iran, especially as we see their reaction to Operation Epic Fury. They had their missiles turned towards our Gulf and Arab partners in the region. Again, this was a regime that chanted, or still chants, death to America. We look at the way that they are holding the entire world hostage with the restricting of the free flow of energy through the Strait of Hormuz. So the president, I think, is making quite an obvious comment. Again, as for the timeline of the military operations with respect to Iran, we have objectives that we have laid out that the commander-in-chief wants to see achieved. When they are achieved, then it will ultimately be up to the president to end this operation.
Okay, so I think you're not exactly addressing my question, though. Is that political objective also necessary for the president to decide to end this war?
Look, again, I just told you the objectives of Operation Epic Fury. When those objectives are met, the president will dictate the end of these operations when he deems that Iran no longer poses a credible threat to the United States of America. And again, it goes back to what does that unconditional surrender look like? Iran can talk all they want, and their words will be very empty when we've completely annihilated their navy, as we are doing, when we've taken out the threat of their ballistic missile capability, when we can firmly finally ensure that they can no longer make a nuclear bomb to threaten the United States and our allies and our troops in the region. And that's what President Trump is ultimately seeking to do with respect to this operation. Jennifer.
There was a shooting outside of a synagogue in Baltimore. Do you know if the president has been briefed on that, and do you have any more details on what happened?
I don't, but we certainly will get you more details, Jennifer. And I don't know if the president has briefed, but I'll check on that when I get back to the Oval Office after this. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said yesterday for the first time that he had to strike Iran because he believes that Iran was going to strike U.S. targets within 7 days. And then he bumped that down later to 3 days. Where is he getting that?
Well, that's not the first time the president has said that he chose to launch Operation Epic Fury because he felt as though Iran was going to strike the United States and our assets in the region first. Again, I addressed this in the last briefing. This was a feeling the president had based on facts provided to him by his top negotiators who had been engaged with the Iranian regime in a good faith effort. The Iranian regime was lying, deceiving the United States of America, clearly trying to continue their nuclear program to create a bomb that would, of course, threaten the United States of America. Again, their ballistic missile arsenal, they were rapidly and aggressively increasing that by the month to a place where they would essentially build immunity for themselves, where a future president or President Trump would not be able to launch this incredibly successful operation. And so the president, again, as I have reiterated and he has said, was not going to sit back and allow the Iranian regime to threaten or to attack the United States of America any longer.
But there are no U.S. leaders or Israeli leaders who are making those same.
And it is just about 9:40 here on Philadelphia Live on Fox Local and all streaming platforms. We're going to take a break, but we are going to get back to the rest of the Q&A that was taking place at that White House briefing earlier today. A lot of questions about the strategy that's taking place in Iran, where the president stands, what are the updates that are going on, and they get into a couple of other topics. Also, there are several people who are participating in the chat room. That's what I'm looking down at on our streaming platforms. So you can go to Fox 29 Philly TikTok, Fox 29 Philly Instagram, Fox 29 Philly YouTube and Facebook. You also can give me a follow at Bill A. Fox 29. That's my TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. We are always interested in interacting with you. And there is a chat board going on, and the comments are coming in, people feeling or expressing their feelings about what happened at the White House press conference. Some pretty strong feelings, obviously, in there, and you can certainly go in the chat room, any of those different social media platforms, and express your feelings on that. We also are continuing to follow the weather that's going on across the country. Major tornadoes impacting multiple cities across the country. We'll show you some more of that video. And the Sixers managed to figure out a way to get a win tonight against a tanking Memphis Grizzlies team. But on top of that, they scored 139 points, which was a lot with your top four leading scorers all out of the game. So the Sixers got another win, 139-129 over the Memphis Grizzlies. So good for them. Tyrese Maxey, as we pointed out earlier, out for at least 3 weeks, and he will then be reevaluated. Paul George out for another 10 days. Joel Embiid continues to be day-to-day. VJ Edgecombe came back tonight. So we'll see what's going on with our Sixers. Eagles making some key free agent signings. A lot going on. So let's take a quick break, and we will get right back to it. .943 Philadelphia Live on Fox Local, all streaming platforms. I'm Bill Anderson. Thanks for spending some time with us. We'll be here until 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, it's the Fox 29 News at 10 on Fox 29, Fox Local, all streaming platforms. And for everybody who is just kind of getting familiar with the Fox Local app, our fox29.com website, streaming platforms, we are quickly evolving and expanding to the point where we are here 24 hours a day. Any breaking news that is going on, constant coverage. Just make sure you have the app and make sure you're following us, Fox 29 Philly, on all of our social media platforms and streaming outlets. Let's get right back to the Q&A that was going on at the White House earlier today. The White House press briefing addressing mostly the Iran conflict, but several other topics.
Acts of America.
Leader making those same claims. So is he making this up to justify his decision to go to war now?
The president is not making anything up, Nancy. He is looking at this every single day based on intelligence, based on facts, and based on intelligence that he himself and his negotiators have consumed based on their, again, negotiations with the rogue Iranian regime over the past year. And the president and his team tried in a good faith way to reach a diplomatic deal through peaceful means with the Iranian regime. And Iran chose this path to death and destruction. Iran wanted to attack the United States of America, and the president was not going to sit back and allow that to happen. He was not going to sit back and allow that to happen, and everyone in this room should be grateful for it. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Two questions for you. One has to do with a follow-up to your statement that you made at the beginning of the briefing regarding the Save America Act.
Sure.
Yesterday, the Senate Majority Leader John Thune spoke on the effort to potentially have a filibuster broken, the rules for the filibuster broken. He said the votes aren't there, one, to nuke the filibuster, and the votes aren't there for a talking filibuster. He says that's the reality. What's your reaction to what Senator Thune said?
Look, I think President Trump, the urgency behind his need to pass the Save America Act and his desire to get this country-saving legislation passed has been made quite clear. He wants all options on the table, and he wants the Senate to move as quickly as possible through whatever means necessary.
And then secondly, just regarding the president's trip tomorrow, looking ahead, why Ohio and why Northern Kentucky?
Well, why not? These are two great states with great Americans.
Just wanted to know why they were chosen.
Great states with great Americans. The president will be joined by lawmakers from both states who he greatly admires and respects and supports. And he'll be meeting with business owners in both of these places and talking about the economy, which is, of course, the utmost importance to him.
Caroline.
Thank you. Last week, the Energy Secretary issued a waiver for India to get oil, Russian oils during this energy crisis.
Yes.
Have you spoken to the President about it? What's the idea behind this?
Have I spoken to the president about it?
Yeah.
Yes, I have spoken to the president about it. And the president and the Secretary of Treasury and the whole national security team came to this decision because our allies in India, as you know, Lalit, have been good actors and have previously stopped buying sanctioned Russian oil. So as we work to appease this temporary gap of oil supply around the world because of the Iranians, we have temporarily permitted them to accept that Russian oil. And this Russian oil was already at sea. It was already out on the water. So this short-term measure, we don't believe it will provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government at this time.
I have one more question about Pakistan. You know, Pakistan is a neighbor of Iran, and Pakistan is also an ally of U.S. President has been praising a lot about the field marshal. Is Pakistan providing any kind of support in this war against Iran?
That I will have to check on with the Pentagon and get back to you. Sure.
The president said yesterday that President Putin told him he wanted to be helpful in the Middle East. The Kremlin put out a statement where Putin said, quote, "I would like to reaffirm our unwavering support for Tehran and our solidarity with Iranian friends." How does the president think that Russia could be helpful, if not helping Iran? And did the president push Putin on Russia sharing intelligence with Iran in this war?
The president and his special envoy Witkoff have both said that, of course, they've sent a message to Russia that if that was taking place, it's not something they would be happy with, and they hope that it is not taking place. As for further details about the discussions between these two leaders, I'll leave it to the president to divulge any more of that conversation, but he did confirm it yesterday and provided you with a little bit of the background and his view and his perspective, as he always does. Luke.
Regarding the missile strike on the Iranian school, how long does the administration expect that investigation to take, and will the White House or the Department of Defense release a full report of its findings once the investigation is complete?
The Department of War will do that. The investigation continues, and as the president said yesterday at his press conference, he will accept the conclusion of that investigation, whatever it may be. We'll go to the back row for some love. Sure, in the back with the glasses. Go ahead.
Regarding the shield of the
Sitting down.
Americas.
Caroline,
is
and
there
then you can go, but go first.
Okay, thank you. Is there an update regarding
You have rough real estate back there, so I'm
Is
trying to give you
is
some
there an
love.
update regarding Cuba, and also is an economic deal imminent?
Sure. I don't have any updates on Cuba for you today. Obviously, this is something the administration is actively dealing with. The president's made it quite clear it's his belief, based on fact, that the Cuban regime is bound to fall. The country is obviously in a very weak place, economically speaking. The people are crying out for help, and the president believes and knows that the Cuban regime wants a deal. So as you know, Secretary of State Rubio has been engaged in those conversations as directed by the president. I don't have any updates for you today, though.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
Regarding
Sure.
the Shield of the Americas, the initiative by President Trump this weekend, big names, a lot of countries, but some notable absences. For instance, Colombia, which is a key ally with the United States in terms of counter-narcotics. And President Gustavo Petro was here at the White House, and he met with President Trump. Why wasn't Colombia invited to the Shield of the Americas?
I don't think we're seeing the level of cooperation we quite want to see yet from the Colombian government to invite them to the Shield of America's event in PACT, but we certainly hope that this newfound organization will expand and we can continue to invite additional member countries. But there was quite a few countries there. I believe there were 17 countries represented, 12 heads of state with the president over the weekend. They signed a defense agreement with all of our militaries to emphasize the need to combat drug cartels through Latin America in the Western Hemisphere, and ultimately, of course, to curb the illegal trafficking of drugs to the United States, which is the president's utmost priority in all of this. So it was a great event on Saturday, and we look forward to the coalition expanding. Kelly in the back.
Caroline, thank you. Good to see you. I want to get back to another question that was asked earlier. It talked about the political aspects, but there's also the ideological and the spiritual aspects of what Iran has said for 47 years. Death to America, death to Israel. And we've just finished talking about the fact that terror has been around the world. Iran has been the nexus of that in so many ways. Has the president stated clearly to the American people why this is such an imminent threat in order for Democrats on Capitol Hill and Republicans and the American people to understand how imminent the threat was?
I think he has, Kelly. I mean, you've heard from the president on an almost daily basis over the course of the past 10 days. You've heard it from me at this podium. You've heard it from the Secretary of War, the Secretary of State, the Vice President of the United States. You know, the president's top cabinet and his officials have been repeatedly explaining to the American public the threat that Iran has posed to our country in this moment, but of course over the course of the past 47 years. And their words, again, chanting death to America, speak for themselves. Go ahead. You can follow up.
Why the division within the American people? I realize that we have the people are talking about the War Powers Act. They're talking about all kinds of issues. But have people forgotten just how imminent that threat was? If they keep saying death to America and death to Israel, they mean it.
Look, I don't think the American people have forgotten, but I think Democrats on Capitol Hill, they have not forgotten, but they are just so plagued with this resistance to President Trump on everything that they do that, again, they can't even rally behind the common sense, bipartisan, long-standing principle of the United States of America that Iran absolutely poses a threat to the United States, that Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. And I think that's reflected again in their voting pattern. In 2023, every single member of the House of Representatives, with the exception of one, I believe the final vote was 412 to 1 in 2023 for a resolution condemning Iran as the world's state leading sponsor of terror. And now in this year, under this president in 2026, 53 Democrats voted against that exact same resolution with the exact same language. I don't think that's a change in the threat that Iran has posed to the United States. I think it's a change in the Democrat Party's thinking and their vicious hatred for President Trump. Danny? Sure.
National threat level, following on Kelly, what's the national threat level right now because of this death to America, death to Israel issue?
I believe the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI have repeatedly and continuously provided updates on the threat level to the homeland. I don't want to speak on it out of turn from up here, but of course, the federal government is continuing to coordinate and partner with local law enforcement agencies across the ground to thwart potential threats to the homeland. This is something the administration obviously takes very seriously. We are thwarting threats that, frankly, most Americans don't know about because they never make headlines, but that's that's the great work that the Department of Homeland Security is doing, and it emphasizes and underscores the point of why Democrats need to fund and reopen fully the Department of Homeland Security right now. Danny.
School. Why did President Trump say yesterday that Iran may have Tomahawk missiles when there are only 3 other U.S. allies plus the U.S. that have those missiles and therefore could...
Look, again, as the president said yesterday, he will accept the conclusion of this investigation by the Department of War. I know there's been a lot of speculation in the media about who may be responsible for this. We're not going to get ahead of the Department of War and the conclusion of that investigation. The president has a right to share his opinions with the American public, but he has said he'll accept the conclusion of that investigation. And frankly, we're not going to be harassed by the New York Times, who's been putting out a lot of articles on this, making claims that have just not been verified by the Department of War, to quickly wrap up this investigation because the New York Times is calling on us to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Carolyn, with the DHS currently under a partial Democrat shutdown, does the administration have any specific concerns about potential impact on Homeland Security or intelligence monitoring of sleeper cells inside the United States? And do you have any comment on the bombing, the 2 individuals that bombed New York City or tried to?
Yeah, it was absolutely despicable to see that attack in New York City. I know the FBI is investigating, and the Department of Justice and SDNY have announced they are charging those 2 individuals and alleged terrorists, and I know they won't rest until justice is sought in this case. Daniel.
Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate it. Millions of Americans are filing taxes for the first time since the president signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act into law. New reports say that new IRS data says that the average federal tax refund is around $3,800, a little bit up from the last period of last year. Does the president believe that the average federal tax refund increasing this year could provide a little bit more economic growth, something that he's been very focused on as the year progresses?
Absolutely. And Americans are going to start benefiting from the fruits of President Trump and Republicans' labor through the passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill and these historic tax cuts. We are midway through tax season, so just to provide an update from the Treasury Department that just went out moments ago, nearly 63.5 million tax returns have been processed thus far, 45% of the anticipated total number of tax returns by April 15th, so don't forget to file your taxes, people. And the average refund this year is more than $3,700. And we know that more than 27.5 million individuals who have filed their tax returns thus far have claimed at least one of President Trump's new tax cuts. Over 3.5 million returns have claimed no tax on tips. Over 15.5 million returns have claimed no tax on overtime. Over 9.2 million returns have claimed the enhanced deduction for seniors. And over 690,000 returns have claimed no tax on car loan interest. And another amazing statistic, nearly 3.5 million Trump accounts have been opened for children in our country thus far. So we look forward to, I know the Treasury Department continues to look forward to seeing these checks go out the door and into the pockets of hardworking Americans, and the president will be meeting with them himself tomorrow on the road in both Ohio and Kentucky, and we look forward to seeing you all there. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Caroline.
And so there it is. That was the White House press briefing a little bit earlier today with Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt answering and addressing any number of various topics. There was another presser, and unfortunately we're running up against the clock, so we're going to have to gracefully exit and pass the microphone and the cameras over to the Fox 29 News at 10. But there was another interesting hearing, excuse me, on Capitol Hill talking about birthright citizenship that took place earlier today. Perhaps we will have the opportunity to bring some of that to you tomorrow, or maybe the hearing will be ongoing. But it was discussing that ongoing debate about whether or not something needs to be done about birthright citizenship. It is something that President Trump has taken on as an issue, but it is also something that the opposition, the Democrats, the other side, has said has long been a part of the Constitution and is something that should remain as such. It was an interesting opening series of comments in that hearing because there was one individual who kind of stood out as someone who was born here in this country, served in the military, very proud of that service and very proud of their citizenship. On the other side, there was someone who was arguing that there is a growing phenomenon of people who are essentially paying for citizenship in this country. paying people to have children that would then be born here. And it was a whole scandal and discussion. So perhaps we will bring some of that to you tomorrow. But for today, we are pretty